broadest terms?
None of us can change the past, but we can commit with all our to learning its lessons and to finding creative ways to right inequalities that endure.
It wasn't an endorsement of so-called reparations, compensation, but a nod to the anger the issue provoked for some. The Prime Minister has ruled out reparations.
I think we should be clear from the outset that the slave trade, slave practice was abhorrent. And it's very important that we start from that place. And of course, that matters hugely to many of the countries that are represented.
I earned fucking 30 quid a day, I think it was, then about 50 quid a day, and then I got commission.
Your objection, is it a financial one,
or
is it a moral, philosophical one? I'm
not worried about that. I'm more the ability to be able to go and see all the families have a bit of time, a good time where the plans are going to
But we should certainly talk about our history.
Say that, but not apologise, not pay any money.
Look, I think that we recognise that, and of course, apologies have already been made in relation to the slave trade, and that's not surprising. But if you then go on to 55 and say in the conversations I've already had, what are the things that have come up most? I can tell you their resilience, their real concern, particularly with some of the smaller countries, about the impact of climate on them and how we can help with international institutions, financial institutions, to unlock money that might help them.
And the Prime Minister is still building international relationships 4 months into the role. This one of many meetings here, seeing his Australian opposite number.
And we can go to Chris now, who's in Samoa. Morning to you, Chris. So very much focus on King Charles and a focus on the words he'd chosen to use. And you've also, of course, had the chance to sit down, have a chat with the Prime Minister.
Yeah, morning to you, Charlie, and good evening from here. Just gone 7 o'clock in the evening here. The odd motorcade zipping past us here as the various delegations head for a dinner hosted by the King. I think what you saw there is the difference between a head of state, the King, and a head of government, the Prime Minister. So the King, as head of the Commonwealth, wanting to articulate the range of views and the concern that there is from some members of the Commonwealth around this whole question of slavery and reparations. Some of those Caribbean nations desperate to see recompense, as they would see it, for the transatlantic slave trade. But the King not wanting to endorse or enthuse about reparations, which is clearly a matter of political controversy, and one where the Prime Minister has a very definite view. I think what you got a sense of from my conversation there with Keir Starmer is that, yes, he is against reparations, or indeed apologising for slavery, but does want to have that broader conversation with countries like this one, Samoa in the South Pacific and others, for whom the challenges of the future, particularly mitigations against climate change, could be huge, even though their emissions are relatively small, on what role the UK and others might have in that conversation looking forward, as opposed to, but I guess overlapping with, those issues of the past.
Chris, for the moment, thank you very much. Time now, 6 minutes past 7. Nagi, you're going to take us through. These are some developments in connection with regulations around where you can smoke, essentially.
Yeah, and we remember a time when you could smoke indoors in restaurants and pubs, and then there was a lot of pushback when laws were introduced to ban that. And now laws are looking to go a step further, and there's been pushback, as you'd understand. So these are proposals to ban smoking in some outdoor areas, and they could be dropped by the government, according to reports this morning. The plans, which would have included pubs and beer gardens, faced opposition from hospitality groups. Our political correspondent, Harry Farley, joins us now. Harry, morning to you. So we're hearing the reports. What are you hearing and what are you interpreting from those?
Well, what I'm hearing and interpreting, Naga, is that there is disagreement and discussion in Whitehall over exactly what Labour's smoking bill, which we're expecting to be introduced before Christmas, will contain. Remember, in August, the Prime Minister confirmed that tougher rules on outdoor smoking was something the government was considering, and that could include, as you say, looking at banning smoking in things like places like pub gardens, outdoor restaurants, and so on. It's thought Chris Whitty, the Chief Medical Officer for England, was supportive of the plan, but it was heavily criticised by the hospitality industry. And this morning, the government reports that Downing Street itself is blocking a ban on smoking in pub gardens. We've spoken to government sources who tell us that no decision has yet been taken, the plan is still being developed. We know that the government want their smoking bill to go further than the previous Conservatives version did, but they've always talked about it as something that was being considered. The ban on outdoor smoking was something that was being considered rather than something they definitely would do. And it certainly seems today that there is a discussion about whether that bill, which we're expecting before Christmas, will include a ban on outdoor smoking.
Harry, thanks so much for that. Harry Farley there, our political correspondent. Efforts are ongoing in Qatar to restart ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, says he believes the killing of the Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar could open the way for an agreement. Hamas has said it's ready to stop fighting if Israel commits to a ceasefire deal. A charity set up by the family of Molly Russell, who died by suicide after viewing harmful content online, has warned that the online safety bill is not strong enough to protect children. Ministers say the legislation would make the internet safer. The NHS regulator says many children and young people in England are struggling to get the mental health support they need because of rising demand and staff shortages. The Health Ombudsman, which handles complaints about the NHS, says the CQC's findings are sobering but not surprising. Chief Prosecutor in Los Angeles has recommended that Eric and Lyle Menendez should be resentenced by a judge and released on parole. The brothers were convicted of murdering their parents more than 3 decades ago, and their case was recently brought back into the spotlight when it was retold in a Netflix series. Our Los Angeles correspondent, Emma Vardy, explains.
What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? Sorry, kill my dad.
This 911 call in 1989 sparked a murder case which gripped the world. Brothers Eric and Lyle Menendez, aged 18 and 21, claimed they'd found the bodies of their parents shot dead in their Beverly Hills mansion. But they later admitted carrying out the killings themselves.
Defendants are in court with their attorneys and the people are represented.
During their trial, which was televised, the brothers said they'd been physically and sexually abused by their father and argued it was manslaughter. At the time, they were not believed and were eventually convicted of murder and sentenced to life without parole. But last year, new evidence was revealed which backed up the brothers' claims of abuse, and there were calls from some family members for them to be released.
Lyle and Eric have already paid a heavy price, discarded by a system that failed to recognize their pain. They have grown, they have changed, and they have become better men despite everything that they've been through.
This is a case which divided America and continues to create a huge amount of debate. Today, the district attorney for Los Angeles said he was recommending a lighter sentence for the brothers, which could now mean they walk free.
They have been in prison for nearly 35 years. I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
Eric and I killed our parents together, so I'd say that makes us pretty close.
Eric and Lyle Menendez recently gained widespread attention once again, with 2 Netflix series made about the brothers' story. Now seen as a case which, had it been held with society's modern understanding of abuse, may have had a very different outcome. Emma Vardy, BBC News, Los Angeles.
At 12 minutes past 7, why not have a look at the weather this morning? We're talking about autumn, aren't we, and the trees and how they're looking particularly good this year. So there's an upside to the damp we've been having, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The weather can really impact the colour of the leaves in autumn and how long they stay yellow and red for before they fall off. And we have had all that wet weather, not just earlier in the autumn, but also in spring as well. So there's some really glorious autumnal colours out there at the moment. Quite a bit of cloud in our skies today and some outbreaks of rain, down to the fact that we've got low pressure sitting out towards the southwest. That's throwing a few showers towards the Isles of Scilly and parts of Cornwall. We've got some rain for Somerset, Dorset, across Wales too. For central and eastern England, some mist and some fog around and some low clouds. So a bit of a murky start to your Friday morning. Few spots of showery rain for Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland as well. Further north and east across Scotland, some early mistiness, but there should be some brightness developing. Now, through the day, this line of cloud and light patchy rain shifts north across England's Wales and Northern Ireland too. To the north and east of that, it stays quite cloudy, but still really mild, 19, possibly 20 for the likes of East Anglia. More sunshine then reappears from the southwest later in the afternoon. Those clearer skies continue to push north through tonight, so we've got that cloud just pushing away from parts of Scotland. Still a bit of rain in the far northwest overnight, but most of us dry, a touch colder than recent nights. And again, we could see some mist and some fog patches to start your Saturday. Any mist and low clouds slowly easing away from parts of eastern England. We've got some rain moving in for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland in particular, but for much of the UK, not a bad day. Some sunshine developing, temperatures for most of us in the mid-teens. Another mostly dry day to come on Sunday. Still some rain in the northwest, particularly for Northern Ireland, but things do look drier and quieter through the course of next week. Of course, don't forget, it's goodbye British summertime. The clocks are set to go back by 1 hour during the early hours of Sunday morning. Nagra and Charlie.
We are forewarned. Sarah, thank you very much.
14 minutes past 7 is the time. Tower block inspections after the Grenfell Tower fire are finding a widely used cladding system hasn't been installed properly in a number of instances, and it's questioning its ability to resist a fire.
So the system known as rendered EPS has become increasingly popular for building and insulating flats in the UK. Was not one of the types banned on tower blocks after Grenfell. Our reporter Phil Hendry has more.
This is a fire test carried out in Australia for a cladding product. It's rendered EPS.
If they saw what was underneath the concrete render, most people would be fairly horrified.
Sorry, language. Because it resisted anything. It's gone up.
We've shown it to residents and an expert, Richard Hull, a professor of chemistry and fire science.
It's expanded polystyrene, which is just the same as the white packaging blocks that you use to get your hi-fi or your TV wrapped in.
After failing this fire test, expanded polystyrene, or EPS, was banned in Australia on new buildings over 2 stories high. I've been trying to get hold of this video for the 4 years since the test was carried out. It's finally been made public.
Actually, the insulation, it burns more easily than the insulation that was on Grenfell. You get this sooty flame, a lot of black smoke, and a lot of that smoke is carcinogenic. So people who escape from a fire might then get cancer years later.
The exterior walls of this huge development in southeast London are built entirely of EPS. In the UK, it requires fire breaks of non-flammable material between the floors. The construction industry says this makes it safe and that the Australian test isn't representative. But post-Grenfell inspections here and elsewhere have found the fire breaks are often poorly fitted or missing completely. Something George Boyd, a resident here for 20 years, has to live with daily.
That's like a fire lighter when you're starting a barbecue. So it's no sausages, it's people inside these buildings. How could you even think that was right if you're a builder and you're responsible? So the whole thing's up in flames at the back. It hasn't resisted anything. It's just gone up. Or just put the buildings up, sell them. I feel angry now, but I'm also terrified that we're going to get another one of these. And then what are they going to do? They're just going to wring their hands. They're going to see how sorry it is. But they must start to understand that this is really dangerous for us.
The developer Barratt has agreed to replace all the exterior walls at a cost of £13 million, but as yet there's still no start date. So behind the cement render, this is what the polystyrene looks like, and while it's been removed from these high-rise blocks, it remains the preferred method of insulating thousands of low-rise blocks of flats across Britain. Residents of this unassuming block of flats in Macclesfield got a government grant to retrofit EPS to improve its energy efficiency. But after Grenfell, insurers consider it such a fire risk that buildings insurance has recently gone up from £2,000 to £22,000 a year. Many of the residents are pensioners, like Sandra Yoxall.
It's just so infuriating that we are paying this money out. This was the government's being paid for by the government, the council and the energy company. It seems ludicrous that they're pushing this cost at us.
Actually, if you knock on it, you can tell it's not concrete. Sandra's and the other flats are leasehold and managed by Julian Jones.
This product's still being fitted to buildings up and down the country as fit for purpose. I just worry about how many people are fitting this to their building, not realising that they're either going to have huge insurance premiums, or at the worst case, the blocks might be uninsurable. I knew it was still being offered for sale, but to see it on the front pages of all these people that are offering eco grants, there is not a single word on any of those websites that state that this product is classified as a cladding. So the fact that it is, I've gone from incredulous to just being pretty angry, really.
The Ministry of Housing says it expects insurance premiums where EPS is correctly installed to be priced appropriately, and will challenge cases raised with it where they're not. The department told me although EPS cladding systems can meet UK safety standards in tests, after Grenfell, ministers expect fire inspections to properly assess if EPS has been installed correctly to the required standard. Phil Hendry, BBC News.
It's often interesting, isn't it, how you have a big story and then people get in touch with the BBC to tell them about how it's affecting them. And so, you know, a big issue and then how it's affecting their daily lives.
Absolutely, and that moves the story on, and it often makes us realise just how big and how many people are being affected by these kinds of stories. You get in touch with us here at Breakfast with your experiences. Now we're asking you for more of that. Around the BBC, we are starting a new initiative. It's called Your Voice, Your BBC News.
And Coletta Smith is here now to explain a little more. I mean, I suppose in a way it's fairly obvious what we're saying is that there are lots of stories out there that people think should be told.
Yeah, and of course, here on Breakfast, you're really good. Your audience are amazing at getting in touch. I know that they're always contacting you. That's true across lots of different programmes across the BBC. But this is a bit of an umbrella idea that people can get in touch with BBC News generally, and we will contact you if there's a story that we can follow up on. Now, we dipped our toe in the water during the election, and we called it Your Voice, Your Vote. It's now called Your Voice, Your BBC News, because we were overwhelmed, pretty bowled over actually, by the response that we got during the election. People getting in touch, telling us stories that just weren't on the agenda of the politicians, because it's very, very easy as journalists to dance to the tune of the politicians, to follow the wider news agenda, what the newspapers are doing, what we're doing, we're following up that, and it's actually not what the audience want to hear, or it's not the important stories to people's lives. So this is a way of them contacting us, of people at home, people sitting on their sofas this morning. It's the kind of people who perhaps are the ones that shout at the TV when you're doing an interview and say, you should ask him this, or what about this, or it's not like that in my street, or it's not like that in my school. So the idea is that they contact us and we can then follow up on that.
You know what I'm thinking, as you're saying that, Cleta, is that it has always been thus, hasn't it, that we have followed stories. That's what journalists do, follow stories that people tell you about. So it's always been thus. But I suppose in a way, part of it might be about making sure that people understand there is an avenue through which you can go that possibly is kind of signposted a bit better,
exactly,
to get a story and more attention.
Exactly, and it's always been true, like I say, that lots of different elements of the BBC have said contact us, but that is why we are getting in touch. That is why we're launching it today. Your Voice, Your BBC News, so that there is one point that people can contact us, and then the right avenue, the BBC will contact them. So maybe it'll be local news that get in touch, but maybe it will be a national story. Maybe it'll be a question that you just really want to be answered, and that somebody in our BBC Verify team, or perhaps Roz Atkins, can answer on air. Maybe it'll be something that we can follow up here on BBC Breakfast, but we will try and work out the right avenue for that. But we promise that anyone getting in touch, we will read those questions, those ideas that are coming in to us. So they will be read by a real person, and then we'll see what happens. Sometimes as well, Charlie, it's only when lots of people get in touch about a story that you realise, oh, hang on, something's happening right away. Exactly. You can spot those kind of trends, maybe in particular areas, or maybe something's happening across the UK, but for a particular group of people. And it just helps us to identify that, because we at the BBC want to make sure that we are reflecting what the audience want to hear and what's actually happening in their lives.
That's what we've always tried to do. Just going to widen the net, I suppose. Thanks, Coletta. And of course, as Coletta explained, you can get in touch through our website. You can email BBC Your Voice at bbc.co.uk, or WhatsApp 07980 682 727 is the number.
Now, thousands of people own caravans or holiday parks across the UK. For some, the dream of the countryside of coastal Bolthole has become a costly nightmare.
Our reporter Chris Baines has been talking to people who lost their life savings, pensions, inheritances after buying static caravans, and they feel they should have been given clearer information.
Situated with breathtaking sea views, Neil.
This was Andrew Dawson's retirement dream. He bought a caravan at Skipsea Sands Holiday Park to spend time with his wife Sue and their 4 grandkids. For a couple of years, all was well, until back home in Leeds, he received some devastating news.
I received a cancer diagnosis back in February of this year, and it's a 4th stage cancer, so there's no cure. Back then, they gave me 6 months to, as they describe it, a few short years. So we set about selling the caravan, setting things in order, and that experience has been dreadful, really.
Andrew spent £62,000 on his holiday home at Parkdeep Resort 2 years ago.
I asked about the rate of depreciation. And again, very sort of, well, you don't need to worry about that. Static holiday homes pretty much hold the value.
But after being diagnosed with incurable cancer, Andrew discovered the caravan was worth far less. He offered to sell it back to the company for just £25,000. But the resort weren't interested. So Andrew cut his asking price again to only £17,000, a sum a sales rep agreed to.
And the sales he was looking quite sheepish. You could see something wasn't quite right. And he said, the directors have told us they'll buy it for £16,000. So he took £1,000 straight off. And we didn't expect any special financial treatment from them. But we expect them, when a member of their staff makes you an offer, that they would honour that.
We approached Parkdeep for a response, and they told us they were aware of and sympathetic to Andrew's situation, and they had now contacted him to resolve the matter. But Andrew isn't alone. I've been in contact with dozens of people who have lost money after buying holiday homes at resorts across the region. Sally Nichols from Bolsover used her entire pension pot to buy a £69,000 lodge at Tattershall Lakes Holiday Park. She told a salesperson she wanted to rent it out to families and live off the income in her retirement.
He provided the information regarding expenses, but also provided information regarding what I could expect as an income. And at that stage, it looked like a good proposition.
For the first year, Sally was able to make a small profit, but then Away Resorts, who run the park, repeatedly put up fees for private owners while renting out their own holiday homes for less.
The passes for access to the facilities went up between £120 and £200 a couple, 3 nights a week or 4 nights a week, and that more or less put a complete halt, if you like, to the bookings coming in. It came as quite a shock to realise that I wasn't going to get my pension.
That was weird. I'll tell you what, right?
On.
I was just fucking.
Away Resorts told us they provided
do you know what?
all
I thought I was going to die,
prospective buyers with
right?
comprehensive
I'll tell you what,
information to ensure they had full awareness of the potential risks.
I was like,
no guarantees.
I didn't know if I was going to wake up and fucking. Or was I going to be able to breathe, or what the fuck's going to happen to me? I don't know. I didn't really realise what was going on, but it did feel a bit scary, you know. Like
portion of your life savings on a caravan.
It was
without
fucking mad.
doing due diligence. It's really, really essential. The bottom line is get your independent legal advice, regardless of what that salesperson says to you.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, Andrew.
Come on then.
Since we spoke to Parkdeep, the company have contacted Andrew to try to settle their dispute.
He asked me if I got the £1,000 back, would that sort of solve the problem. It didn't change my view on Parkdeep, and it didn't change my view on the industry.
More than 27,000 people have signed a petition calling for stricter regulation of the holiday parks industry to stop people like Sally and Andrew being left out of pocket. Chris Baines, BBC News.
27 minutes past 7 is the time.
If you see me glancing in that direction, it's to see Britain's best railway station.
I've been awake for fucking night.
There for us this morning.
Yes, good morning. It may look like any other railway station, but as you say, this one is really rather special. This has won the World Cup of Stations in a public vote, and we are here at Maghull on Merseyside. And part of the secret to it is the Maghull Station volunteers mentioned on the sign there. When it gets a bit brighter, we'll show you some of the green spaces that they work so hard on to make sure that the station looks beautiful. But also take a look through this window here, the warm, inviting glow of the coffee shop, a warm welcome and a smile for all the customers. It's got a real sense of community. We'll find out a little bit more about that a little later this morning. I can tell you a bit of bespoke travel news for you if you're watching on Merseyside. The 7:33 and the 7:46 to Ormskirk, both running on time. You may well be watching somewhere else this morning. So what a good time to get the news, weather and travel wherever you are.
Hello, good morning. I'm Sarah Farmer with the news in the south. Porters at University Hospital Southampton are being balloted for strike action over a row about breaks. Workers say they've been denied toilet breaks unless they ask permission, and the chairs they use to rest have been removed around the hospital. The Trust says porters are a valuable and intrinsic part of the hospital, and there's no such policy around access to toilets.
We're not going to Sainsbury's. There's no fucking seats.
It's obviously really
over by the
upsetting to
taxi
hear that our porters are feeling this way.
You got the
And when I
seats by
became aware
Sainsbury's,
of
and then you
these
got the buses,
allegations and issues,
and then you got the
August,
fucking taxi
I
rank,
immediately
and
commissioned
there's
an
nowhere to sit.
external review to look at the culture within the department, and also to look at how the department is structured, the capability within the department, the skills, because we really do need to get to the bottom of these really serious issues that are being raised.
Winchester Prison will need sustained support and investment if the jail is to provide decent living conditions and keep prisoners safe. That's according to the Deputy Chief Inspector of Prisons. It follows a report by the watchdog that concluded the prison should be put into emergency measures. Prison inspectors found drug use was rife and that security was compromised by the fact a third of the CCTV cameras were broken. The prison's minister said staff were working hard to improve conditions, and it will publish an action plan in the coming weeks. The owner of a tanning
I
salon
actually
in West
asked to
Sussex,
go in there, right,
devastated by fire,
in
is
the
offering
jail,
a reward
but
for
they said, why? I
information
said,
leading to
because I don't
arrest.
want all this fucking
Fire crews
medication.
evacuated 40 people
I'm locked
from
up in
flats above
Melbourne,
Cantastic in
Kingsley Ward,
Broadwater Street West in Worthing on Monday night.
in Winchester,
Sussex Police has said the fire is being investigated as suspected
opposite
arson.
the fucking back,
A
opposite
£5,000
the jail
reward
one.
is being offered by the director, who says the damage has been catastrophic. Time to take a look at your Friday forecast now. Georgie Palmer has the details.
Hello, it is a largely dry and a settled picture over the weekend. For today, though, some patchy rain initially, but then by this afternoon, largely dry with plenty of sunny spells. So the frontal system tracking northwards and eastwards. By this afternoon, some fair weather cloud, plenty of sunny spots, quite breezy but mild with highs of 16 Celsius. Tonight, though, a quiet picture. The winds ease down. The skies will begin to clear, so we could see some patches of mist and cooler than last night with lows of 7 Celsius. So for tomorrow, again, a largely dry day. Some residual cloud here and there, but lots of sunny spells. Temperature-wise, very similar to today, and also with slightly lighter winds, feeling pleasant with highs sitting around 15 or 16 Celsius. For Sunday as well, a dry day, and of course the clocks go back on Sunday morning, the end of British summertime. For those who are lucky enough to enjoy it, an extra hour in bed. Bye-bye.
That all-important extra hour, make the most of it. Let's take a look at your travel news for this Friday morning. On the A34 southbound, one lane is closed and there's very slow traffic. That's because of barrier repairs after an earlier incident. It's between the Oxford Road and Pear Tree Interchange junctions. That's it. We'll be back in half an hour. Bye-bye.
Welcome back. Time now is 7:32. Weight loss jabs are now used by millions across the world, but the UK's drug safety regulator has asked doctors to be alert for patients who may be misusing obesity injections. Let's take you through some of the details. Yesterday, the Medicines and
I'm not
Healthcare
going
Products
near all that
Regulatory
shit. You know, I'm
Agency
getting what I
published a
want.
reminder to
My way,
medical
yeah.
professionals the drugs are only meant for treating type 2 diabetes or for weight.
Oh, fuck off, will you? Are you taking a piss or what? Come on, tell me.
related disease. The MRHA are advising patients to report any adverse reactions via the yellow card scheme. The system uses expected side effects or adverse reactions to medicines or vaccines. Yellow card data collected by the UK medicines regulator on the appetite suppressant drug semaglutide shows there have been a
That
total
was
of
really scary to me because I didn't know I was
5,500
asleep.
reports
I thought I was going to die. It
adverse
was fucking weird.
reactions to it since
I was trying to think how old am I? Am I
the
fucking going to die or what?
Nova
Fucking out
Nordisk
bad it
said
was.
it welcomed the MRHA statement that it did not condone, suggest, or encourage any misuse of any of its medicines. Patients should only obtain its medicine on prescription through legitimate sources and under strict medical supervision. Well, Lorna got some weight loss jabs from an online pharmacy after feeling low about her appearance. She developed pancreatitis, potentially life-threatening condition, and a rare side effect of the jab she used.
In the middle of the night, I literally felt like somebody had just stabbed something straight into my stomach, and I had like what felt like a contraction. So the pain in my stomach in the middle of the night happened really suddenly, really strong, and it lasted about 5 or 6 minutes. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know that can be life-threatening.
Dr. Sakti Karunanithy is the Lancashire Director of Public Health. Good morning
Good morning,
to you.
Nadia.
Heard Charlie talk about kind of the problems at the moment, and what I suppose we need to make really clear is that only or available over the counter, they have gone through regulations, they have gone through testing, they have gone through approval. This drug is safe, but for certain people.
That's right. This drug is safe and is licensed for certain purposes, for certain indications. But what it isn't a cosmetic product. It's a medical product. It's normal for MHRA to do that surveillance after the drug comes into the marketplace, as it were, to pick up side effects. Or
He's got a beard. I'm going to wear a beard. I'm going to wear my beard.
This is a
I'm
medical
going to wear my beard.
product that
Fucking
needs to
right.
be taken on prescription under supervision.
So side effects happen, but are the side effects less likely or less problematic for someone who has, say, a BMI, which is the measurement that's being used, of 27 or above?
I mean, like any medicine, there is always a potential for the risk of side effects. Thankfully, what we get today, in Laura's case, is not that common as we've known it. There are some more common side effects, which are like blood off your stomach and so on, nausea, vomiting. But these are rare, and that's why it's important to pick up the yellow card if you're a practitioner or if you are a patient who's experiencing some rare side effects, to report it and get it checked. But more importantly, we are treating people who are overweight or obese with certain medical conditions, and these drugs are not cheap. Average, it can cost us the public purse if it's from the NHS.
Oh, goody bag guy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
For a year.
Fucking right, man.
Whoa!
Whoa.
In terms of the future ailments or health conditions, if people aren't struggling with obesity.
Can I ask you, so, Doctor,
I've been up all
you're,
night.
Lancashire
I have.
Director of Public
Correct, yeah.
Now, we're hearing from people, and we
You know what? I thought fucking, I really did think I was going to die, yeah? I thought I can't breathe, I can't fucking, I was and then I fucking, oh, wow, fucking out, wow, I'm awake, can't believe it, fucking hell.
The procedure, what precautions do there's an engagement there.
It would have been sad if I died before I got my compensation.
That's not a
They're
conversation.
missing out. They're
Okay,
missing out.
so what are your concerns in relation to that?
Well, there's two concerns. One is it's not just a drug that you can just buy online and just put it on. It's just an injection as well. So there are things that needs to be advised and taken into account much more holistically.
You can.
We can, but it's a prescription that people go and buy, and that's why it's important that people buy it of authorized dispensers and they don't get into false products and so on. But the problem is, this is not to be effective on its own. This needs to be done in conjunction with advice about your habits and how long you take and and then putting them back to the same food system, which is broken, and we can never treat every single person out of obesity by just this drug, and that's the key message here.
So, but as I understand it, this particular warning is suggesting that they're worried that there could be a misuse of the product. So people have got them legitimately and they've possibly done everything done correctly. But the concern here is about the misuse of the product.
Yeah, and that is normal for any drug regulator to issue notices to be careful about misusing or side effects in this case.
So give us a sense of the risk people are taking. If you're not following the guidance properly, what are we talking about?
I mean, we're talking about people buying this medicine either off license or through privately, and indeed falling into the scenario of basically falsified pens, which can be risky. That's one issue here.
Falsifying pens?
These are injections like your insulin injections that can contain other things that may not be suitable for you.
Okay, but sorry, I think it's not slightly confusing because I think the warning is about legitimate products that are being misused. That's how I understand the warning.
This is a notice from MHRA that advises professionals to be alert to patients who may be prone for side effects, to be careful about that assessment needs to happen. And it's also an alert to patients who may be going off and buying their own medicines without the wider support that's there, because it is costly.
So there are two issues when patients buy off, when they don't go to their GP and have it given in a holistic manner. Yeah, there's the one where they get private prescriptions.
That's right.
Which are legal.
And,
and so they've gone to a private doctor and said, "I want this," and doctor's legitimately given them a prescription, and they're getting the product that's approved by MHRA, correct?
Correct.
So there's that issue, using it correctly.
Yeah, and not buying it from authorized sources like a pharmacy that's registered to dispense.
That's a separate issue, though, isn't it? When people buy it online without a prescription, because then they can get anything. We don't know what's in those pens.
Yeah, there's a number of issues here. One is having that holistic support when you are overweight and really using this medication when it's indicated. And then be watchful about the side effects. So that's the first thing. The second thing is where you get it from, and is this a genuine source? Because you still need to be watchful.
Do private doctors not have to keep an eye on how these things are being used?
Oh, yeah. All licensed practitioners come under the MHRA advice, and they're all being advised to be watchful about the side effects.
But if the patient doesn't follow up in the way that a GP would look after you, as you know, in their surgery, and the patient can do whatever they like with this drug.
Oh, indeed, but this is the advice. This is a medical product. This is not a cosmetic product, and therefore it needs to be taken under medical supervision, and that's what this advice is about.
It's an interesting subject, no doubt one we will return to. Dr. Sakali, Karen and Nithi, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our time now is 7:41, and you can take us through all the main sports news this morning. Right here.
Morning to you both. While Eric Ten Hag and his future at Manchester United remains a topic of almost daily discussion, he might have actually been relieved that Jose Mourinho stole the show during and after the 1-1 draw with Fenerbahce in the Europa League. United now gone a year without a win in Europe, but did start well in Istanbul. Christian Eriksen giving them an early lead with his 4th goal of the season. But Fenerbahce were then back on level terms. It came early in the second half. Yusuf En-Nesyri with a header for the Turkish side. But Fenerbahce then felt that they should have had a penalty when Manuel Ugarte brought down Bright Isaiah Samuel. And Mourinho was so incensed by the decision, he was sent off for foul and abusive language. But afterwards, the former United boss wanted to make sure the write-ups didn't just concentrate on him.
I know you, English media. I know that probably you are going to say Manchester United didn't play well, Manchester United didn't have shots. Why? Why they didn't have shots? Why they were not dominant? Why? Because the opponent was good. The opponent was very good.
Elsewhere in the Europa League, Rangers recorded their biggest win in Europe for 17 years, thrashing Romanian side Steaua Bucharest 4-0 at Ibrox Vaclav Cerny, scoring 2 of them. Rangers with 2 wins from 3 in the competition. Tottenham are second in that table after beating 10-man AZ Alkmaar 1-0. Second half penalty from Richarlison, giving Spurs 2 wins out of 2. Now, they were the 3 of the 7 British sides involved in Europe last night. None had more to celebrate than the New Saints. They became the first team from the Welsh League to win a match in the main draw of a European competition. New Saints, based in Oswestry, but had to play their opening Conference League home game 20 miles away in Shrewsbury because their own stadium isn't big enough. But they beat Astana from Kazakhstan 2-0, with the goals coming from Rory Holden and from the penalty spot from Declan McManus. Fellow European debutants Larne were on the receiving end of a 4-1 defeat by Shamrock Rovers. Josh Honohan. It came just after 3 minutes. It leaves Larne bottom of the Conference League table. Chelsea are top of that 36-team league. They made it 2 wins from 2 last night. Their match against Panathinaikos began with the home side paying tribute to their player George Bulldog, who spent much of his career in England with Sheffield United after the defender died earlier this month. Chelsea went on to win the game by 4-1 in Greece. João Felix with 2 of Chelsea's goals. It puts them right at the top of the table. Hearts also have 2 wins from 2. They beat the Cypriot side, Omonia Nicosia. Blair Spittle with the pick of 2 goals in their 2-0 win at Tynecastle. Jack Draper plays Thomas Makac in the quarterfinal of the Vienna Open later today as he aims to finish the finest year of his career with an extra flourish. In the early hours of this morning, Katie Boulter booked her place in the semi-finals of the Pan Pacific Open in Tokyo. She beat 2019 US Open champion Bianca Andreescu in straight sets. International women's football tonight, Naga and Charlie, with not only Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales involved in playoffs for the Euros, which if they win 2 rounds off, they'll be qualified for Euro 2025, and also England against Germany for the first time since the last Euros final. They play in a friendly leg.
Have you got a Jose Mourinho style hand gesture to sign off with?
Careful.
I'm sorry, my hands are busy. I've got too many papers in them to be able to do that. But I tell you what, his timing, he just knows when to make sure he's box office. He is a master of his art.
That's very composed.
Very good wording.
Just a little point.
Very good wording. Very good. Sarah's taking a look at the weather. I tell you what, if you're going to watch anyone's gestures, it's always our meteorologist, because you've got to kind of get all over the country kind of and make it all very, very clear.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't help ourselves by giving those, waves and hand gestures. Good morning to you. We've got a bit of mist and wet around this morning, some low cloud as well. So it's going to be a bit of a greyer day for most of us than it was yesterday. This is a bit of Suffolk first thing this morning. But some more sunshine will start to work in from the southwest through the day. There'll be a little bit of rain for some of us, but not everywhere. It's going to be seeing wet weather today. So low pressure sits out towards the southwest. You can see it here. So that's bringing a blustery spell of weather for southwest England with a few showers as well. This cold front is pushing its way north, so a little bit of rain for parts of central southern England, Wales, Northern Ireland as well.
Now these goodie bags, guess what's in these goodie bags? In each bag. Yeah.
The sunniest skies will be rather windy.
Oh, not only that, what if you cut yourself, right? This time,
a little bit further north across England later on. Still on the mild side,
This
we can
time.
see 19, possibly
There
23
is.
towards parts of East Anglia, Eastern England. The last is sitting in the mid to high teens, but
Are
a
you
little bit
ready?
colder across the north of
A
Scotland.
plaster.
Here.
A
Evening
plaster.
hours, this area of
Yeah,
Ireland,
it is
patchy light
bad.
rain continues its slow progress northwards and eastward. Clearing skies for most overnight tonight, but like last night, we could see some mist and some fog for some eastern areas in particular, but probably a little bit fresher than it was over the last couple of nights. So we're getting down into mid-single figures, a little bit colder than this in the more rural spots. Saturday's weather, then quite a bit of dry weather on the cards, but
That was a scary situation when I woke up. I was like, I'm gonna die. I don't know what's going on. I mean, come on, tell me. It was mad. It was.
Northern and
Fucking
western
hell, that's a bit
Scotland
mad.
as well. So this frontal system is slow moving in the northwest. For the rest of the UK, not a bad day. 1 or 2 showers around. We've got a bit more cloud across eastern England once again in the morning. That should slowly start to move away towards the east. But some sunshine in between. Temperatures again in the mid-teens. It will feel a little bit cooler and fresher compared to recent days. Don't forget, Saturday night, the clocks are going to go back by 1 hour. And then as we head into Sunday, then should be a largely dry picture for many of us once again. We'll start off with some mist and some fog, light winds as well. But through the day, the next area of low pressure approaching the northwest. So that will push some cloud and rain into Northern Ireland later on. Northern and western Scotland again could see a bit of wet weather later in the day. Much of England and Wales having a fine day. And in the autumn, sunshine should feel very pleasant. But
on the face of it, the temperatures are a little bit down on recent days, 13, 14 degrees, a little bit more typical after the milder spell of weather we have seen. Still got a funky system around to start the new working week, but as we head through next week, it's higher pressure that's going to build in. So not a completely dry week ahead, and there will be quite a lot of cloud around in general. But after some rain through the weekend across the northwest of the UK, next week looks settled, some reasonably quiet autumn weather to be enjoyed out there. Back to you, Dave.
Would you like to see some pictures with us now? Because I know you give us viewers' pics, but here's some we've got this morning. Maybe you'd like to look at them with us?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, here we go. Liz in Brighton. Oh, I say.
This is all about the reflection.
Right.
It looks like, you know, those like Japanese ornamental gardens, because it's so pristine, but that's actually Sheffield Park in Sussex.
Sarah, that's a bit like that picture you had a little earlier on this morning, wasn't it? Which was a picture from yesterday.
Absolutely, yes. Same place, I think. Sheffield Park, absolutely gorgeous spot. It just makes you want to get out, doesn't it, and go and enjoy the countryside and enjoy those colours before they all disappear and the leaves fall off the tree.
So it's all over the place. So this one is from Polesden Lacey, which is in Surrey. Jane has sent that picture in. Very lovely.
The red leaves, that's always what makes an autumn picture. Here, and a dog walk with all the leaves on the ground. Brian and his wife Lynn and their dog Holly enjoyed a walk at Fyvie Castle in Aberdeenshire. And that's Lynn and Holly. That's what you want to do, Sarah, isn't it? The thing is, never jump into leaves that you can't see the bottom of. That's the trick.
That's great advice, Naga. Top tip of the morning.
Thank you very much.
Sarah, thank you very much. And this is the final shot we'll give you. Where are we with this one? This is
Somerset.
from Oak Hill in Somerset. And finally.
I like the red leaves. Ask and ye shall receive. Hilliers Arboretum in Romsey, Hampshire. Di Kalis, thank you very much for sending us that picture because it's stunning.
7:49, 7:50 is time.
We're going to bring you, well, we were down to earth. We're going to take you up into beyond to one of the country's best known space scientists who's appeared on our screens for more than a decade with programs like The Sky at Night.
So we're talking about Dame Dr. Maggie Aderin-Pocock, who is now sharing her knowledge of the James Webb Space Telescope in a new book. You know, we were talking about lovely images on Earth.
These are astronomical.
These are images that are completely out there.
Astronomical. That's what they are. We're going to talk to her shortly. First, take a look at how the telescope began its journey.
Maggie's with us this morning. I was questioning this morning, Maggie, you won't mind me asking, is it Dr. Dame or Dame Doctor?
I don't know. I'm going for Dame Doctor. I'm not sure.
And you don't mind either way.
Can we call you Maggie still?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Definitely.
Amazing pictures behind us here.
Oh, I love them. Especially that one's there, the Pillars of Creation.
Now look, the Pillars of Creation, these things are given amazing names, aren't they? Because this is a star-forming region, hence the name, the Pillars of Creation. So this is, are we seeing stars forming, Maggie?
We are, yes. So this is what we call a stellar nursery. But the thing is, the scale of it...
Where all the little ones
the little baby stars are born. But the thing is, it's on a massive scale. Can you see that little red bit in the central column?
Is that the Higgs?
Yeah, that's where the star formation is happening. But that is maybe sort of 100 times bigger than our solar system. So these are a nebula, and this is where stars are formed. So our solar system...
Hold on, stop.
Okay.
Stop. That little red bit...
Yes.
Just the little red bit...
Yes.
...is bigger than our whole solar system.
Yes.
And is this a real picture?
It is.
It's not an imagination.
Oh, no, it's real. But it's infrared. So in the past, many people have taken this image. So
someone's coloured this in.
Oh, no, well, so the Hubble Space Telescope, for instance, took this image of this pillars of creation, and it's been taken a number of times. But the James Webb Space Telescope is an infrared telescope, so it picks up heat energy. And the joy of that is some things that Hubble can't see because clouds of dust stop the light getting through. With infrared, we can see through that dust and see what's happening right at the heart and how the baby stars are being formed.
I'm going to ask our director, Tim, to just bring that picture up for us. Can we see that one again, Tim? So when we look at this, as we will in a second now, how much of that is a solid thing?
Oh, yeah.
Is that, what's kind of gas or dust or whatever?
And so it's mainly gas and dust. Because that's how stars are formed. They're formed out of gas and dust, which all clumps together to make the new star. But the thing is, that gas and dust, because it's moving and interacting, sometimes it gives out radiation, heat energy, and that's what we're picking up with the James Webb. So that's how we see things out in space. They give out sort of light, they give out visible light, X-rays, gamma rays. That's what we pick up.
If those stars are in the nursery, nursery of, what did you say?
Oh, a stellar nursery.
A stellar nursery, right? When do they become stars?
So in that process, what happens is things start clumping together because of gravity. And they clump, bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually what happens is you get to a critical mass. You get enough mass in the star that it actually starts this process called fusion. Fusion is when it starts smashing atoms together, and that's when it starts giving out light. So,
So actually, if we move on to the Cartwheel Galaxy,
yes.
this takes the story on, doesn't
it
it?
does,
A little
yes.
bit, because it's a cataclysmic collision between two galaxies.
Yes.
I have so many questions, and I love the way you answer our questions. One, this is beautiful.
Yes.
So two galaxies are colliding. Where have they collided? I know that sounds stupid, but I'm seeing a cartwheel and I'm seeing something else in the other.
Yes. And so we have sort of two other galaxies which are just sort of tagging along for the ride, really. But what we see in the Cartwheel Galaxy is that two galaxies. So galaxies, our galaxy is the Milky Way. It contains 300 billion stars. And every so often, what happens is galaxies will collide. And it sounds like they say it's not cataclysmic, but what happens is because stars are very widely spaced, what happens is the gravity pulls them together, and you get these wonderful swirling patterns as they come together. But that's the future for our galaxy as well.
Our galaxy is going to crash into another galaxy.
Yeah, the Andromeda Galaxy in the future.
When's that going to happen?
A few billion years. We've got time to.
So again, Maggie, can I do the thing? The white bit in the centre.
Yes. So that's a collection of stars all giving out light, infrared light, and that's why they seem so bright.
That's a solid mass.
That's solid mass. So when I see solid, it's millions, billions of stars all there together giving out light. And then what you can see in those arms, is as the two galaxies have collided, they've sort of swirled together, and you get this structure. So all those sort of filaments are stars as well.
If you'd asked me, if I'd seen that picture not knowing it was anything to do with space, I'd have thought it was a jellyfish.
It actually does. It looks quite like sort of deep oceans with the colours and things like that.
Where are we going next? There's another one.
Cepheid variable.
Oh, yes. Seafood variables.
Seafood, sorry.
Oh, no, well, actually, there's a bit of debate into how to pronounce it, but seafood variables are stars which flash depending on how bright they are. And this has been really useful in the past, because in the 1920s, we thought that we were the only galaxy, but we saw these seafood variables out there, and we suddenly realised the scale of the universe. Because we know how bright they are because of their flashing, we can work out how far away they are. And some things that indicated that the universe was far, far, far bigger than we ever thought possible.
And now we could, just as we're sort of looking at these images, I know, Maggie, that one of your passions as well as space is learning, isn't it? And it's wider kind of context, which is what you do so well because you help us all understand things. But that's one of your passions, isn't it? People should not be afraid to learn and not intimidated by it.
Lifelong learning, that's my key. And so because every day you can pick up something new. I'm learning French really slowly.
How's that going?
Je ne comprends pas.
Sounds pretty good to me.
This is quite funny,
there's
really.
always something new to learn, and the universe teaches us that. We only know what 6% of the universe is made of. The other 94% we have no idea.
How?
So I'd like to say that to kids to encourage them to come and help us.
I'm going to ask this question, and how long away can the telescope see? And I say long because
And my
it is measured in
daughter-
time, isn't it?
It is. So we talk
It's not distance.
Well, it is distance, but we talk about light years.
Yeah.
And so sort of some of these objects we're looking at are sort of millions of light years away from us. And a light year is the distance that light travels in a year. So the speed of light is fast, 300 million meters per second. So yeah, I came in from Guildford earlier. That would have been lovely. It would have been. So that's how quickly light travels. And a light year. So a light year is about sort of let's say 10 trillion kilometers. That's how far light will travel in a year. So when we say that something is sort of 10 light years away, it's taken 10 years for that light to reach us. And some of the things we're looking at here are millions of light years away.
Should be
or even
fucking
billions of
18
light
years to get my freedom.
And so by the time the light reaches us, those objects don't exist anymore.
How's your head, Ollie?
Charlie's got that face.
I'm on the big learning curve.
Love it.
But
Every
right
time
now,
we come in.
il faut dire au revoir.
Au revoir.
Il faut dire au revoir. C'est une fin.
Oh my goodness.
C'est dommage.
Sunday. Dommage?
No. It's a shame. It's a shame. Our time is up.
Oh.
That was very good as well. That sounded fresh. It's a delight seeing you. This book is amazing. The pictures are
Stunning.
extraordinary.
Oh.
Maggie's book is called Webb's Universe, the Space Telescope Images That Reveal Our Cosmic History. And if you think you learned something just in that chat, we all did, you will learn loads from this.
Thanks, Maggie.
Say
Time
it
now
in
to get
French.
the.
Go on.
Time now to get the news, chart, and weather where you are.
Hello, I'm Sarah Farmer with the news in the south. Porters at University Hospital Southampton are being balloted for strike action over a row about breaks. Workers say they've been denied toilet breaks unless they ask permission, and the chairs they use to rest have
Well,
been
I shouldn't
removed
take the
around the
piss.
hospital. The trust says porters
No, they're not
are
allowed to take the
valuable
piss,
and
aren't they?
intrinsic parts of the
Okay,
hospital, and there's no such policy around access to toilets. It's launched an independent investigation. Winchester Prison will need sustained support and investment if the jail is to provide decent living conditions and keep prisoners safe. That's according to the Deputy Chief Inspector of Prisons. It follows a report by the watchdog that concluded the prison should be put into emergency measures. Prison inspectors found drug use was rife and that security was compromised by the fact a third of the CCTV cameras were broken. The Prisons Minister said staff were working hard to improve conditions. Friday's weather now, and this morning we'll have a cloudy start with some spells of rain pushing northwards, becoming weaker as it tracks away, and it will turn drier and brighter into the afternoon with highs of 16. Let's take a look at some travel news for you first thing this Friday morning. On the A34 at Kidlington southbound, one lane's closed and there's long delays there. That's because of barrier repairs from an earlier crash. It's affecting the stretch between Oxford Road and the Pear Tree interchange. And on the northbound side of the A34 at Walton Hill, there's been an accident at the A343 that's partially blocked. That's it for now. Back at 8:30. Bye-bye.
See you later, all right? Yeah, all right. More then. More. Come on.
Good morning. Welcome to breakfast with Nagamon Chetty and Charlie State.
Good morning. Good
The
morning.
King has urged
Oh, piano's
Commonwealth
down there.
countries to commit to learning the lessons of the past, but Prime Minister Keir Starmer rejects paying reparations for slavery.
Plans to ban smoking in some outdoor areas could be dropped by the government after opposition from hospitality groups.
Prosecutors say the two Menendez brothers, who were jailed nearly 30 years ago for murdering their parents in one of the US's first televised trials, should be released.
And the boss is on breakfast this morning. Bruce Springsteen talking to us about touring at the age of 75.
Yeah, and the louder you can talk, the better, because I've played rock and roll for 50 years.
What does it take to make an award-winning station? Good morning from McGull on Merseyside, the winner of the World Cup of Stations. I'll be meeting some of the people here who make this place quite so special.
Good morning. It's a bit of a misty, murky start to the day, and we've got some low cloud around in the north and the east, but there'll be some sunshine moving in from the southwest. I'll have more details in about 10 minutes' time.
Good morning, it's Friday the 25th of October. Our main story today, the King has urged Commonwealth countries to learn from the lessons of the past at the opening of a meeting of the organisation leaders in Samoa.
Some members of the 56 nation group, made up of mainly former British colonies, want a discussion about reparations for slavery. Our political editor, Chris Mason, reports from Samoa.
Leadership involves many things: decision-making, accountability, and ceremony. This the Samoan welcome for prime ministers and presidents. Some Commonwealth members want the UK and others to compensate them for the impact of slavery. It was a debate the King referred to here in the broadest terms.
None of us could change the past, but we can commit with all our hearts to learning its lessons.
Yeah, you don't know nothing, do you? Because you don't fucking know me, do you? You don't care about me, do you, really?
It wasn't an endorsement of so-called reparations.
I know about the history. Yeah, I fucking do. No, that's what I studied. I did. I studied like fuck. And because I said something about the history, fucking the policeman was having a go at me.
Clear.
We're like this. You've got this, the bastard. He's thick as fuck. He don't even know what he's fucking thinking about. He's fucking spastic. He's like a cunt.
Start from that place, and of course that matters hugely to many of the countries that are represented here. My posture, if you like, my focus is on the forward look, not the sort of backward look.
I want to understand the nature of your objection. Is it a financial one, or is it a moral, philosophical one? Can our generation be held responsible for the actions of our forebears?
I think our generation can say the slave trade and practice was abhorrent, and we should. You know, we talk about our history, we can't change our history, but we should certainly talk about our history.
Say that, but not apologise, not pay any money.
But, you know, I think that we recognise that, and of course, apologies have already been made in relation to slave trade. It's what you would expect. But if you then go on to the question, we're 55 countries here represented, and say in the conversations I've already had, what sort of things that have come up most, I can tell you their resilience, they're a real concern, particularly with some of the smaller countries, about the impact of climate on them and how we can help with international institutions, financial institutions, to unlock money that might help them.
And the Prime Minister is still building international relationships 4 months into the role.
How did you get to be a Prime Minister? What have you done over the English history? What have we done? Come on, fucking tell me. I need to know what you've done.
We can speak to Chris now.
I don't think you've done as much as me.
So interesting for you and for us, hearing about King Charles and his choice of words, a lot of scrutiny around that, and then for you, the chance to sit down with the Prime Minister and hear how he is juggling these issues.
Yeah, morning to you, Charlie. So we've seen playing out in public, firstly, the difference between a head of state, the King, and a head of government, Keir Starmer. And then we've seen the King, for the first time as the leader of the Commonwealth, at one of these Commonwealth heads of government get together. They happen every 2 years. He was at the last one 2 years ago, but he was standing in for the Queen. It had happened earlier in the year. And that choice of language that he had to pick. So he wanted to nod to the reality of this debate that's going on with this family of nations, as he described it, without being seen to take sides. So my understanding is he wasn't seeking to endorse or recommend reparations, just to acknowledge that some are of the view that they should be paid and others of the view that they shouldn't. And the Prime Minister is one of those in that latter category. He doesn't think it is necessary or indeed a good use of time to focus on this when there's plenty of other things instead that should be talked about, not least economic development and climate change. And I think in that exchange you saw that I had with him there, an attempt to use slightly softer language. I think some of his language arriving here, the Prime Minister had rubbed up some people the wrong way, in the Caribbean in particular, to acknowledge that countries might be able to help poorer ones more broadly with the challenges of the future, like climate change, as part of perhaps something of an acknowledgement of the challenges of the past, like slavery.
Chris, thank you very much. Time now is 7 minutes past 8. So, Nag, I think it'd be fair to say there's been a lot of focus on smoking bans and what the government might do. And today, a little bit of confusion about which direction that's going.
We know there's been a lot of debate as to how further outside the bans go. And there are various reports coming through. And the government has said, look, no decisions being yet made on whether to ban smoking in some outdoor areas. There are reports in several newspapers this morning suggesting the proposals could be dropped after there was opposition from hospitality groups. Let's clear this up. Well, our political correspondent.
I want to smoke.
Clear it up.
I
There
want
was
to
a
smoke.
warning to-
You can fuck
there was a
off.
little
You
confusion
can fuck off.
Yes, there is a little confusion. It was back in August. The Prime Minister confirmed that toughening the rules on outdoor smoking was something the government was considering and talked about, and that included
Don't be a cunt.
possibly banning it in places like beer gardens, outdoor restaurants.
Can you imagine America
and
doing
so
that?
on. And as
I
you
don't
say,
think they're going to do that
reports
at all. No
Guardian,
fucking
for
way.
example, that Downing Street is now
And we're a little
ban
fucking tiny little land. We're just a little island in this fucking great big world. So don't be a cunt.
But they said that no decision has been taken. That new law is expected to be introduced before Christmas. And the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has talked about wanting that law to be more ambitious than the previous version that was brought by the Conservative government. But he's also talked about having sort of national conversation, national debate around smoking, and always spoken about it in reference to something the government was considering, banning outdoor smoking, rather than something the government really seems that this morning there is some disagreement and debate in Whitehall about what exactly that bill, which we're expecting before Christmas, will contain, and whether a ban on outdoor smoking will be in it.
Harry, thanks for taking us through that. Harry Farley there, our political correspondent.
My friends in Africa fucking smoke. They fucking do. And my mates in New York and all that, they fucking
US
smoke.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says he believed the killing of the Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar could open the way for an agreement.
I want to shout out
Hamas
to
says he's
Bree
ready to
in
stop
fucking
fighting
Texas.
if
I
Israel
just
can
want to say
reach a
hello. Good
ceasefire
morning. It's Grandad.
A charity set up by the family
Yeah.
of Molly Russell, who died by suicide after viewing harmful content online, has warned that the online safety bill is not strong enough to protect children. Ministers say the legislation would make the internet safer. The NHS regulator says many children and young people in England are struggling to get the mental health support they need because of rising demand and staff shortages. The Health Ombudsman, which handles complaints about the NHS, says the CQC's findings are sobering but not surprising. The chief prosecutor in Los Angeles has recommended Eric and Lyle Menendez should be resentenced by a judge and released on parole. The brothers were convicted of murdering their parents more than 3 decades ago. Their case was recently brought back into the spotlight when it was retold in a Netflix series. Our Los Angeles correspondent, Em Vardy, can tell us more.
This 911 call in 1989 sparked a murder case which gripped the world. Brothers Eric and Lyle Menendez, aged 18 and 21, claimed they found the bodies of their parents shot dead in their Beverly Hills mansion. But they later admitted carrying out the killings themselves.
Defendants are in court with their attorneys and the people are represented.
During their trial, which was televised, the brothers said they'd been physically and sexually abused by their father and argued it was manslaughter.
Well, my dad
they were not
married
believed
fucking Barbara,
and were eventually
and Barbara had 2 daughters
murder
called Sharon
and
and
sentenced
Judy,
to life
and my
without
dad
parole.
had one daughter called Rachel
But
White,
last year,
and
new
Rachel
evidence
White
was
got
revealed
got my dad put in a cell overnight, and she wasn't very nice to him at all, really. And fucking what else is there? I said, oh, look, yeah, Sharon was okay, but Judy fucking took all his money. Fucking the car he gave me and parked on my mum's drive was fucking taken by her friends or boyfriends or whatever the fuck it was. They come and collected it.
This is a case which divided America and continues to create.
Yeah,
international
Judy, you
debate.
fucking greedy
Today,
bitch.
the
I mean,
district
fuck off.
attorney
I
for
mean,
Los Angeles said he was recommending a lighter sentence for the brothers, which could now mean they walk free.
They have been in prison for nearly 35 years. I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
Eric and I killed our parents together, so I'd say that makes us pretty close.
Eric and Lyle Menendez.
well,
recently
Russell and
gained
Lee
widespread
were fucking.
attention
They
once
decided
again,
when to
with
go
two
outside the
Netflix
house and
series
smoke
made
drugs.
about the brothers' story.
Until, well, for many years that they were smoking drugs in the living room with my
Modern
mother.
understanding of abuse.
Not she wasn't
may
smoking,
have
but
had a
she
very
was
different
fucking breathing it
outcome.
all in.
Emma Vardy, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Time now is 12 minutes past 8. It's Friday. I've got that right, haven't I? It is Friday, Sarah. It's Friday.
Are you just re-establishing
Yes.
yourself
Oh,
today?
yes.
It's
checking.
Friday,
And
yes,
we're looking
Friday.
to Friday and the rest of the weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning
Oh, that's
to you.
all right.
It's
We'll
a
go on
fine
Facebook. That's
start
all
to
right. We'll
Friday
post
for some of
Facebook.
us, but we have got quite a lot of mist and murk out there for other areas as well. But this is
Ugh.
the picture in Essex, Walton on the Naze. Beautiful start to the day there. Quite damp air with us at the moment, so that's why we've got mist and the fog, particularly from
Well,
northern and
7
eastern
hours
parts
and
of the
57
UK.
minutes on
Whereas we're
fucking
seeing quite
Facebook.
cloudy through the course of today. There'll be
That's crazy.
some rain around as well, but not everywhere, and a bit more sunshine working in from the southwest as well. So we've got a line of rain that sits across the likes of Dorset, Somerset, up through central Wales as well. More sunshine to the southwest of that with some blustery showers. That's why we've got mist and the fog for central and eastern England. Thick north, for instance. Few showers for parts of southwest Scotland, Northern Ireland this morning as well. Northern and eastern Scotland looking drier through the morning, but there'll be thickening cloud bringing outbreaks.
I asked fucking Jules how old she is, but I
some
don't
windy weather
know
down
what to
towards
tell
the
me really.
southwest,
But
but some sunshine
that's our problem.
pushing its
Because I
way
mean,
slowly
well,
towards the
you know,
eastern
what can I say? I
Scotland
mean,
and Wales. We could see temperatures around 19, possibly 20 degrees in the warmest spots. But for most of us, we're typically sitting in the mid-teens. Through this evening and tonight, we've got this area of cloud and a little bit of light patchy rain, just pushing its way northwards, but in general, clearing skies through the night. It'll be a little bit cooler than recent nights, and we'll be down into mid-single figures in the countryside. To start your weekend, then, quite a lot of dry weather on Saturday, a little bit more cloud and a few spots of light rain for parts of southeast England. There's the rain that moves into Northern Ireland and western Scotland later in the day. Temperatures here are 11 or 12 degrees, but in the sunshine, many central areas getting into the mid-teens again. Things do look a little bit quieter weather-wise through next week as high pressure keeps things mostly dry. Bit of rain around in the north and west at times. But don't forget that the clocks are going back by 1 hour during the early hours of Sunday as we head from British summertime back to GMT. Back to you.
Sarah, just to clarify, because it does confuse.
It is Friday. Yeah.
It's Friday.
Established.
You've got it's Friday.
Yes.
Do we get an extra hour in bed?
Yes.
You
they
see,
go back
you
to
had
this
to
time
think
of year.
about it
Yeah.
as well.
I know. Well, if you're getting up at
Oh.
3 in the morning, like some of us do, that makes all the difference, doesn't it?
So we get an extra hour. So this is the good one, yeah?
Yeah, this is the good one. This is the good one. You can.
This is the good one. Okay.
It's
so-
always that question, isn't it? Do the clocks themselves? Mostly they do, don't they? But
Yeah, but you can never trust them.
Never quite
you never,
sure.
You never,
Never
quite,
quite
if you're
trust
working
them.
on that shift the next day, you can't trust them. Yeah, you have to
Set
get a
two
phone
alarms,
call
yeah.
or something. Yeah, 2 alarms at least. Sarah, thank you.
8:15 the time now. Less than a week until Halloween, parents are being warned that some fancy dress costumes could pose a serious risk to children.
The outfits bought online are failing basic fire safety tests. They're urging people to check the labels before buying clothing. Our reporter Jane McCubbin can explain.
Are you ready to skip? Halloween is upon us. But this year's Halloween comes with a warning. That scary outfit might be scarier than you think. In fact, the government has just announced that 80% of Halloween costumes bought from a range of online marketplaces failed basic safety standards.
I'm very worried that people will be buying Halloween costumes online this year through surveys and projects that CTSI have undertaken, that vast majority of products sold online through third-party sellers on online marketplaces are unsafe.
So, with the help of West Yorkshire Fire Brigade, we're going to show exactly what that looks like.
What we've got here is the shop bought costumes, all the main supermarkets, and these have been bought online. Do you think we're going to see a difference?
I think we'll clearly see a difference regarding the flammability. The shop bought ones from the supermarket aren't as flammable.
Should we set fire to some stuff?
Let's have a go.
Okay. First up, costumes from the UK High Street. They all have the safety standards clearly on the labels.
As you can see, it does light it, but not very successfully. He's trying to get it to light. Because it's fire retardant, it doesn't want to catch it all. It's not really taken. I think it's just extinguished itself now.
Yeah.
It's a supermarket bought one. It's got all the markings and the labels as it should.
Doesn't want to take.
No, we can't get anything to happen with it. It's got all the safety markings and the labels. It's not even catching at all.
It's not catching, is it? There we go.
Next up, costumes from an online marketplace, most of which have no labels at all
or labels with no safety marks.
Whereas the other one by now would put itself out, this is still burning. As it's generating heat, it's melting and it's stripping away.
In fact, trading standards want the government to introduce clear legal responsibilities on online marketplaces to ensure they are responsible for all goods sold on their platforms, including those by third-party sellers.
It's caught very quickly.
It smells nasty too, doesn't it?
It does smell. It's dripping away, so it's not just the body area, it's dripping on your shoes, your feet, your legs.
You wouldn't want your kid in that.
No, certainly not. No.
That doesn't surprise me at all because, as I say, it just mirrors the findings that we've already had. So the real answer is to always buy from a trusted brand, try and buy from their own website rather than through a marketplace.
And you can see how quickly that caught.
Mostly, costumes from online marketplaces were more flammable.
It's still spreading, but it's not really travelling.
No, it's done.
But it was an inconsistent picture.
This was bought online, no labels, no markings, and it hasn't developed. So it is a gamble.
So today, the government is asking parents to remain vigilant, to keep their kids safe.
Is there a new costume every year?
Yeah. Do you ever check the labels, though, to see what the standards are?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But mostly, if it's cheap, it's on.
If it's there for the day, it's there for the day. We'd always point them in the right direction, and we'd always try to, in our weekly newsletter, say, remember, if you're buying a costume, look at what the standards are, just check they're safe.
Not very good.
Of course, the easiest way to avoid any of these worries.
If you're going to have an outfit of any kind, whether it's shop bought or bought online, please don't have naked flames around.
Jana Cubbin, BBC News.
I'm pleased to say Adrian Simpson from the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents is with us. No, morning to you, Adrian.
Morning.
There's no escaping. Looking at that imagery, those costumes going up in flames, that is very frightening.
It is. It's shocking to see quite how quickly some of these products can burn. I mean, we hear all the time at Rossborough of parents and caregivers who come to us and say, my costume has burnt, and it was very, very quick as well. So we're really keen on making sure that parents, caregivers are aware of the risk of some of these costumes.
Yeah, we're just looking at, one of these. And, inevitably, there are some obvious things here, which is no matter what the costume, being near a naked flame is dangerous. Yes, I mean, that's something to avoid regardless.
Oh, absolutely. We make sure that we tell parents and caregivers, keep away from naked flames. You are aware at this time of year, there's a lot of candles, there might be sparklers around. We're saying to parents and caregivers, really be aware of where you are, what the flame risks are nearby, and stay away from them.
How do you know if a costume is safe? So look, you've brought an example. So let's go with hats are the easiest things.
Okay.
Which one? You look at these. I have, just looking from them at the outside, do you know, I probably think that's a bit more creased and a bit more crinkly, so it doesn't look as good quality as that. But I don't expect any of them to be good quality because they're temporary. They're, used one-offs.
Exactly. What we advise to look for is labelling. So labelling is very, very important. So, for example, on here, you can see there is something called the UKCA and CE mark. You get that on your camera there.
Yeah.
So that is the manufacturer's declaration that the goods conform to all the relevant health and safety
But
requirements.
will that still be flammable?
It potentially could be. All products can be flammable as well.
Right.
But some of them will ignite a lot slower than other products. So, for example, like this one has absolutely no labelling on it at all. So we'd be unsure if this product has been tested. If there's a recall, do we know where to send it back to? Do we know about any flame warnings on there? There's absolutely nothing on there at all.
So, Adrian, help me with this one. So someone is buying on the internet. So they're buying something on the internet. They see these two pictures. They could be sort of side by side, not from the same manufacturer probably. How would they know while buying on the internet that one has this and that one doesn't, just from a picture and a description?
It is very difficult, and what we advise the public to do is make sure they're buying from a reputable retailer first of all. So check for reviews.
How would you know that?
You can look at reviews. You can see how long that particular retailer has been established. You can just make sure they've got a contact address there as well. Sometimes we see websites there's no contact information on there at all. So how would you get in touch if something was actually wrong? And also look at the description of the product as well. Because quite often the retailer will put down all the tests that it's gone through. They'll quite often say if it conforms with British standards or the British Retail Consortium's Code of Practice on disguise costumes.
The problem is, and I alluded to this before, they're one-off things. especially children grow out of things within 3-4 months, don't they? So it comes to Halloween and they want these costumes. And they're expensive. You know, if you buy one from a retailer where you know there's that label, you're looking at up to £20 for a little costume. It's a lot of money. When you go online, they're much cheaper. How can this be resolved?
Well, I think it's quite difficult to put a price on safety as well. These products do have to undergo a lot of testing. That's why they can be quite expensive. We know that a lot of parents and caregivers like to make their own costumes as well.
Is there a problem with that? Because what's wrong with it's not as imaginative, but a sheet over the head and a couple of holes.
Sometimes some of the materials you might buy from high street retailers to make your own costumes can actually be quite unsafe. They can actually ignite a lot quicker than some of the products that have undergone testing and be made by a manufacturer. So, for example, like this one we have here, and you can see again you've got the UKCA and CE marking, and you've even got a fire warning label as well.
Right.
And we also advise that the public also look out for, sometimes there's a swing tag attached to it like a triangle, and that normally will say that the product has undergone additional testing to the British Retail Consortium's code of practice, which goes over and above what the law says the product should be.
If someone has one now, a costume now, they're thinking of using those, and they've watched us and they've seen you talking and they said, oh, this hasn't got a label, this hasn't got the CE, what should they do with that?
The first thing we say is go back to the retailer and try and find out where the product's being tested, how long ago it was tested as well. If you have any concerns about the safety of any products you buy, it's very important that you let your local trading standards service know as well. They are the enforcers for unsafe products, so they can actually go back, trace where the product was from, and make sure that that retailer or manufacturer does comply with the law and make sure that product is safe. We really want people to have a fun and safe Halloween, and we know how popular these costumes are as well. So we don't want to say don't use them, we just want the public to be aware of the risk of them and say have a fun and safe Halloween.
Do you dress up at Halloween?
No, I might do this year. Could be very good for the screen mask on, perhaps.
Scary, but okay. Thank you so much, Adrian Simpson, Head of Policy at the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, the time now is 8:25. A BBC investigation has discovered how smugglers are hiding small boats in Germany before they're used by migrants to cross the channel.
Now, during a meeting that was covertly filmed by our reporter, 2 smugglers reveal how dinghies are kept in secret warehouses around the city of Essen. Our Berlin correspondent, Jessica Parker, has more.
Essen, West Germany, a place many migrants come to or pass through. It's here our journalist is posing as a Syrian man who wants to get to Britain on a small boat. Wearing a secret camera, he meets this man, a boat smuggler, who says his name is Abu Sahar. These are videos from Abu Sahar, motors, dinghies for use in migrant crossings. This one, he's suggested, is being stored nearby, somewhere around Essen, ready for the right price. They end up at a cafe. It's becoming clear someone else is coming.
Months of groundwork have led up to this moment. Our guy is just a couple of streets away having a meeting with his contact. We've got a tracker on him. We're parked up here. We don't want to get too close. That could compromise things. But we've got to be close enough in case there's a problem and we have to get him out of there.
They're joined by a man known as Al Hal, the uncle, a term of authority. Due to strict German law, we can't record the sound of the meeting. So right after, our journalist describes to me what happened.
They tell me the equipment comes from Turkey. They have about 10 warehouses around Essen. Police raided one a few days ago, but they separate their stock and give bait to police.
As our investigation shows, smugglers are moving boats from Turkey to West Germany. Britain's national crime agencies confirmed Germany's a central location for storing dinghies later used in channel crossings. Because cities like Essen are near, but not too near, the Calais region's more closely watched beaches, while under German law, helping to smuggle people out of the EU to a third country like the UK isn't technically illegal. Back at the cafe, it's down to business.
The smuggler says one option. I can get you a boat. You will pay me 15,000 euros. You will get the boat with 60 life jackets and all the equipment, guaranteed delivery to the Calais area.
This testimony is backed up by videos, messages, and voice notes from the smugglers. In various exchanges, the main contact, Abu Sahar, even discusses the merits of certain engine models and known migrant crossing points. On the beaches of northeastern France, dawn breaks. Cooperation to crack down on gangs is good or being accelerated, according to the German and UK governments. But the remnants of failed, even fatal crossing attempts litter these shores, while, as we've shown, smugglers continue to make big money from this misery. Jessica Parker, BBC News.
The time now is 8:28.
Now, we're with you until 9:30. That's when Morning Live takes over. Gethin and Sarah will be hosting you for that hour. Good morning. Do you know what glorious sunlight behind you? Isn't that stunning? We don't get to see out the window in this studio.
All week. It's been lovely all week, actually. It's been a pleasure to come into work.
It has.
Coming up on the show today, it's exactly 2 months, I know, until Christmas. Today, Scam Interceptor's Nick Stapleton exposes the criminals posting fake job ads promising extra festive cash.
From completing surveys to leaving reviews, fraudsters offer big money for small tasks. And I'll tell you how they tried to steal my money when I responded to a dodgy advert and was added to a WhatsApp group run by scammers.
Plus, wheezing and shortness of breath are symptoms of COPD, a lung condition that affects over 1 million people. Many don't know they have it, so we'll explain how simple exercises like heel raises can improve your breathing.
Also, someone is killed or seriously injured on UK roads around every 17 minutes. We investigate how it's not the size of the vehicle that can save your life, but the surprising safety features that could be inside your car, including the SOS button you hope you never have to press.
Then we're refueling with a meat masterclass. Chef John Gregory Smith tells us how the secret to a perfectly cooked steak is in the palm of your hand.
And would you like some basil with your meal? The legendary John Clint joins us to tell us how you could be checking in for a short stay at Fawlty Towers. It's always funny. It's just every time I see it, it's funny. See you at 9:30.
You're right, it is always funny. Thanks, Gethin. Thanks, Sarah. See you then.
Time now to get the news, travel, and weather where you are.
Hello, good morning. I'm Sarah Farmer with the news in the south. Reading-based Thames Water is to borrow up to £3 billion to ensure its survival over the next year. Sources say the funding will give the firm time to restructure its debt and avoid the threat of administration. The company has previously warned it could run out of funds by Christmas if the majority of its lenders did not approve further borrowing to keep it going. Porters at University Hospital Southampton are being balloted for strike action over a roundabout breaks. Workers say they've been denied toilet breaks unless they ask permission, and the chairs that they use to rest in have been removed around the hospital. The Trust says porters are a valuable and intrinsic part of the hospital, and there's no such policy around access to toilets. It's launched an independent investigation.
If you sit around for a little while, like when you might finish a job, it's like you're just being lazy. You're not doing nothing again, you know?
I'm
It's
lazy.
like a constant kind of pressure inside. It's like you're always wary when you stop. You're always on edge.
Manchester Prison will need sustained support and investment if the jail is to provide decent living accommodation for prisoners and keep them safe, according to the Deputy Chief Inspector of Prisons. It follows a report from Watchdog that concluded the prison should be put into emergency measures. Prison inspectors found drug use was rife and that security was compromised by the fact a third of the CCTV cameras were broken. The prison's minister said staff were working hard to improve conditions. The road across the New Forest between Brockenhurst and Leamington Hill closes for 8 days from tonight. The branch line connects the rail network with ferries to the Isle of Wight. It's also used by island students to get to college. Network Rail will replace 3/4 of a mile of track and strengthen the viaduct. Let's find out what your Friday forecast looks like for today. Here's Georgie Palmer.
Hello, it is a fairly quiet and settled picture over the next few days. Great news if you've got plans to be out and about this weekend. For today, yes, some patchy rain at first, the rain clearing away to the north and the east, but behind it, dry and brighter with some good spells of sunshine. Quite a breezy day today with highs of 16 Celsius. For tonight, though, a quiet picture. The skies begin to clear, the winds ease down, so some patches of mist here and there. And a cooler night, lows in single figures down to around 7 or 8 Celsius. So a lot of cloud around it during the day tomorrow, some patches of mist first thing, but actually looking to stay largely dry and bright, the winds easing down, so feeling pleasant. Highs of around 15 or 16 Celsius once again. Sunday, actually, a very similar picture. Plenty of autumnal sunshine. Of course, the clocks go back on Sunday morning. Bye-bye.
A whole extra
Bye-bye.
hour.
Bye-bye.
This morning on the Kidlington southbound. One lane's closed. There are long delays there because of barrier repairs after an earlier crash. It's between the stretch of road between Oxford Road and the Petree interchange. And on the northbound side of the A34 at Walton Hill, there's been an accident on the A343, which is partially blocked. That's it from us. We'll be back with you after 9 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Naga Marchetti and Charlie State.
Good morning to you. It is 8:33. Now, a baby monkey who was taken from her forest home in Indonesia has been released back into the wild.
Yes, when she was just days old, Millie, who you can see in the picture behind us there, was tortured by her owner and filmed for sadistic customers, mainly in the US and the UK.
Now, she and the other monkey who was being held with her have been rescued after a BBC Eye investigation. Rebecca Henschke, who spent more than a year tracking Minnie and her torturers, went along to see the release.
Taken from the forest as a baby, Minnie's owner tortured her and filmed it for sadistic customers in the US and the UK. After a BBC Eye investigation exposed the ring, Minnie was rescued and taken to a sanctuary. After 2 years of rehabilitation at this sanctuary, she's ready to be released.
Let's to the forest, Minnie. Okay?
Happy tears. Because finally they're going. Yeah, it's been a struggle. But worth it.
After being driven through the night to the coast, Minnie and her adopted family have been taken to a protected island reserve.
This is a pristine, forest-covered island which humans are rarely allowed to enter. So it's hopefully going to be a safe home for Minnie.
Everyone has to carry a monkey. I'm tasked with taking Minnie.
Okay, Minnie, the last step in the journey home.
Minnie's moving around a lot now. Maybe you can hear the other sounds of the wild monkeys, sounds of the forest. Yeah. So what now? To get Minnie used to being back in the jungle, in the wild. She's going into this temporary cage. Yeah, let's do it. Hey, Minnie. Yeah. After recovering from the journey, it's time for the release.
There she goes. She's so curious and brave, leaping out into the trees. She's with an adopted family that's going to keep her safe and well in the wild. Those that tortured her in this monkey torture ring are being put behind bars. But here in this jungle, Minnie's finally going free.
Rebecca Henschke, BBC News, East Java.
One of those stories where you dread kind of seeing what's happened with Minnie, but at least there was a good ending, and let's just hope she's happy.
8:37 is the time. So if we show you this picture of a railway station, on the face of it, I would say, shall we have a look? Doesn't look that amazing, but there is someone lurking there in the background who will explain, Ben, that this is no ordinary railway station.
It is no ordinary railway station. This station, Maghull on Merseyside, is the winner of the title of World Cup of Stations. It's a public vote, public competition. There's a real history to this place, actually. It's where Frank Hornby lived here in Maghull. And he's the founder, of course, of Meccano and Hornby Railways. He modelled the station buildings on his train set on this very building. Anyway, back to the competition. World Cup of Stations, a public vote. Maghull triumphed out of 48 that were in the running. Final 3 came down to here, Kings Lynn in Norfolk, and Dorridge in the West Midlands. The public voted 100,000 votes were cast. 60% of them came here, were picked up by this, leading it to be declared the winner. And it's down to the green spaces and the cafe, which serves as a real community hub. We'll speak to some of the people involved in a moment, but first, I've been taking a look around.
Forget the grandeur of Grand Central in New York and the majesty of King's Cross and Pancras in London. For the latest award-winning railway station, hop on a train to Merseyside. Your destination, Maghull. The winner of Britain's World Cup of Stations.
I'm overawed. This station's been looked after for nearly 20 years now. And bit by bit, it's gradually increased. More flowers, more planting, compost heaps, watering containers, and we all work together, which is wonderful.
The green spaces looked after by volunteers were a big factor in the station's victory. And while this may look like just a station cafe, it's actually much more than that. It's a real community hub, hosting a men's mental health group, a Knitter Natter club, and a meeting point for walking and cycling groups.
To the guys that come in, it's a home for them. To me, it's a little hug. It's so nice to know that people walk through the doors. They know exactly where they're going to sit. They know what they're going to eat. They know what they're going to chat about. They're comfortable to have that conversation in a public place. They know that it's going to go no further. It's heartwarming. It really is.
So what's the secret to running an award-winning station?
It isn't just a place to pass through. It's the heart of the community now. People come here especially for afternoon tea, doggy ice cream, obviously the dogs, not the people. We have the knitting group, we have the ramblers, and our staff stop off here as well and have drinks. It's a place to come, not a place to pass through.
And rumour has it they're already planning on how to keep the title next year.
And those plans are being led in part by Doreen, who chairs the volunteer group here. Doreen, tell me what the volunteers do to keep this place so special.
Are here every day and we litter pick and tend our plants. We are already an award-winning station and we have a complete garden that circles the whole of this area. So if you would like to come along and join us and come and have a look at our beautiful planting, we would love to see you.
And that lovely painting over your shoulder done by one of the volunteers as well.
This is also done by one of our volunteers, and we have other paintings in the waiting room and various paintings around the station.
Lovely. Doreen, congratulations on the award and thanks for having a chat to us this morning. And we saw a little bit of the cafe. I'm going to take you inside because you've got to meet some of the team in here. They have given us the warmest welcome, and it's the welcome they give to passengers who pass through this station every day. There's a passenger there. Don't miss your train. We don't want to get in your way, make you late. Oh, these are some of the regular faces here in the ticket office. We've got Ray and Ange and Ian. So that's actually my ticket to get home later. Thank you very much for that, guys. Come through and meet Liz. Liz, lovely to see you. We saw the tasty treats, but we've also got these hats that you work here in the cafe, but you also do this.
I do, yes. I knit all the hats for Parkinson's UK. All the proceeds go to Parkinson's, which is a charity close to my heart because I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 10 years ago.
And what is it to you that makes Maghull Station such a special place, that makes you want to work here?
Well, at first it was the boys that own the coffee carriage, Rory and Craig. I walked in through the door and I felt like I'd come home. They were just so welcoming. But since working here from the very beginning, it's all about the customers and how they welcomed us in. And obviously Rory and Craig welcomed them in as well. Just makes
Indeed.
everybody feel really, really at home.
And it's not just the human customers that get a warm welcome. You may have noticed within the hats this community board that Liz looks after, including their Pawson friends. And I think, now you're going, Charlie, I've already spotted my favourite, my little namesake here, little Benji. Isn't he a cutie?
We're going to get in trouble now because
They're all cute, really. You can't.
dogs here. So Parker is mine, and Layla is Rory's, and Hugo is one of
Oh my
Rory's.
goodness. Okay, they're all my favourites. They're all our favourites. How's that? Fairer?
That's a bit much fairer.
Okay, there we go. There we go. I've been told, Megan and Charlie.
They're all lovely. You can't really pick a favourite.
No, and thank you so much to Liz and all the team down there. It does look like a lovely place. I like the look of those hats as well.
There you
And
go.
it's
There you go,
very
Ben.
nice.
Christmas is coming up. There you go, Ben. Find one for Charlie.
I think we was just about to try one on.
Is going to get it for you. Do you know, it's fair to say there's been a lot of rain in the past weeks and months. There are some benefits, though, to enjoy after a glut of wet weather.
It is one of those times of year we've seen this the season changing behind us, images behind us. Apparently, because it's been so wet in the spring, this could mean to these kind of displays lasting even longer than normal.
Our reporter John Danks can explain.
So, Ollie, when do you start to see these distinctive autumn colours coming through the garden?
So for here, about September, I'd say. So I remember coming in one morning and seeing the liquid amber starting to turn from green to red.
Autumn has taken root here at Lanhydrock. Head gardener Ollie leads me around a blaze of reds, golds and yellows.
So at the moment, we've got some really dramatic displays in the garden. So we've got the reds of the liquid amber, which is just right behind me. Again, similarly with some of our acers, the Acer palmatums in those reddy maroon colours. Our more native trees going over, such as the oaks, again, gives that nice autumnal glow to them as well. So it's really, especially in the last few weeks, it's really come on here.
We're definitely seeing lots of people coming to see our autumn colour. Our garden is really known for its spring flowers, but it's really clear how beautiful it is all year round.
And part of the reason for this flashy foliage could be down to the soggy spring. According to the Met Office, this March was one of the wettest on record.
With those milder weathers, it's great because we have got the increased rainfall, which means that the trees are still in full leaf, and then they're slowly turning to autumn colour. But with the increased storms that we've had, especially last year when we had the most storms since records began, we're hoping we don't get the same repeat of that this year.
Today has actually been a very lovely day. So we've come to have a look at the colour here and just see the changes and grabbing that bit of nice weather before the rain probably comes tomorrow.
The colour of some of these trees here is really spectacular, particularly when the sun is shining. And the joy we receive from them today is perhaps some small consolation for all that wet weather we endured earlier in the year.
John Danks, BBC News, Cornwall.
And you've been sending pictures in this morning. Let's have a look. Anne has been in touch, capturing this image this morning. That's beautiful in Conwy Valley in North Wales. That's going to be all going on.
It's a stunning part of the world, stunning part of this country. Mark has been up early, joined the club. But Mark got to catch this, the sunrise in Ide Hill in Kent with his dog Ziggy. And Cyrus sent this in from Stowe Gardens in Buckinghamshire. Just stunning. The red leaves do it for me all the time, really.
So can you raise any of those images, Sarah? Have you got better than that? Because that image behind you is pretty spectacular.
This is pretty special, isn't it? Yes, good morning to you. I've got not only the fiery reds in the trees and the bushes, but in the sky as well. So this is the picture in Perth and Kinross this morning. We're really enjoying all your amazing photos of the autumn colours this morning. For some of us, though, we haven't got quite the same colours in the skies. Despite the beautiful yellows and reds in the trees at the moment, quite a lot of grey cloud lurking in the skies for most of us. This is Dudley this morning. So we've got some low clouds, some mist and some murk around this morning, which should slowly lift and clear from northern and eastern areas. We have got clearer skies moving in from the southwest, but blustery here with some showers. Some rain through the middle of the morning across parts of southern England and Wales, but it's the central and eastern areas where we've got the mist and the fog. few spots of rain coming out of that cloud across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland as well. Some early brighter spells in the northeast, but I think it'll cloud up here later in the day. Now, further south, a few spots of light rain across England and Wales. Brighter skies moving in from the south, but it is quite blustery, and temperatures for most of us in the mid-teens, but we could see 19 or 20 degrees even towards East Anglia. Overnight tonight, cloud drifts its way northwards, bringing the odd spot of light rain, but for most of us, clearing skies, dry conditions, and a cooler night than we've seen of late, down into single figures. For Saturday, quite a bit of dry weather. You'll notice this rain. This is the front pushing into Northern Ireland, northern and western Scotland. Further south and east, some sunnier spells, but a bit more cloud just sitting across the far southeast. Into next week, and it looks like we'll have a mostly dry day on Sunday. Still some rain in the north and the west. But higher pressure bringing us a slightly quieter spell of weather. And don't forget that the clocks go back 1 hour during the early hours of Sunday. Now come Charlie.
Sarah, thank you very much.
If you are trying to be more eco-friendly, you could soon have a wider range of products to choose from, including, this is an odd one, a designer handbag made using bacteria, and then there are muffins, which is not so odd, containing algae.
Experts embracing a new area of science called engineering biology, which is could make goods more sustainable. Our science correspondent, Alan Bush, has the story.
A designer handbag made using bacteria. They grow in a dish to produce this, which is a bit like wood pulp, but much stronger. It's mixed with a natural textile and dyed to end up with a material that ends up looking and feeling like expensive leather. And because it's not made from cows, it's much better for the environment. They give off huge amounts of planet-heating gases when they burp.
A lot of young people today are worried about the future, are worried about the planet and where it's going to be in a few decades. They have ethical concerns around animal cruelty. And so we're really seeing in this new generation a strong drive for these materials, and we've got a lot of support for that because of this need.
It's impressed the government's head scientist. Professor Angela McLean believes that the science that created the handbag could transform our lives.
What we're looking for is terrific jobs making products that will be much less polluting and much more sustainable than their current equivalents, that will generate great jobs, good environments, and prosperity.
Does this excite you?
I think it does. Yes, it does. It does. It really excites me because I feel like we are seeing the beginning of a big revolution.
This new area of science is called engineering biology, and it's all about harnessing and adapting
I suppose I could
nature to produce
take my phone number.
all sorts
I
of
think I
things.
will actually.
Governments are particularly interested in it because it has the potential to produce many of the things we need in a sustainable way. Researchers in Bedfordshire are using engineering biology to turn these green algal plants yellow, then completely white,
Fucking hell,
to
come on.
make a new superfood.
Give up, you
They add
motherfucker.
chemicals to the green algae solution, which speeds up evolution. They then turn it into a powder, which is rich in protein and can be used as a substitute for eggs and dairy by the food industry.
This is the ultimate example of end products produced using our algae, where we've completely replaced egg and dairy ingredients.
Can I try one?
I challenge you to taste the difference.
Good. This is completely like a regular muffin.
That's where we're going. Mainstream foods.
How would this taste if it had green algae in?
It would be a very bitter, off-putting flavour. It's not something you'd want to be eating.
With no butter and eggs, these cakes are lower in fat and cholesterol. Taste just like the ones you shouldn't eat too much of. They've been produced using natural organisms. The technology could potentially be improved by other companies by genetically altering the bugs to be more productive and versatile.
The people who are leading this discussion are people who are invested in ensuring that the technology receives the widest possible funding and the widest possible dissemination. The problem is that it's a technology that is messing around with living organisms to make them part of industrial systems. And whilst it has the potential to do good, it also has the potential to do harm.
Hundreds of lab-grown products are on their way. Engineering biology is seen by governments as a solution to some of their biggest problems. Their challenge, though, is to introduce it with the right safeguards to ensure it's a technology that people trust rather than one they fear. Pallav Ghosh, BBC News.
8:52. We're going to talk about the boss, Bruce Springsteen. 60 years since he first played a gig on an $18 guitar. Those were the days with a band called The Rose in his local club.
Got to start somewhere. Got to start somewhere. He did well. He's graduated to world stadium tours, huge audiences, and now a documentary has gone behind the scenes as he prepares to go on the road again. And our music correspondent, Mark Savage, has been catching up with him.
Yeah, and the louder you can talk, the better, because I've played rock and roll for 50 years.
You've been touring for decades now, so why this tour in particular to invite the cameras in?
Because I could be dead by the next one.
Let's hope not.
I'm 75 years old now. If I wait 10 years, I've decided that waiting to do things, that part of my life is over.
People are just so grateful for having this music.
Now, when you brought this tour to the UK earlier this year, you played a gig in Sunderland where you were in the driving rain for 3 hours and you lost your voice at the end of it. What makes you keep going in conditions like that?
Well, I'm there to have a good time. I'm going to insist on it, whether it's raining or sun shining or whatever, because I'm there for the people that are there. It sounds corny, but you have to love your audience, you know? For the most part, I've never found that hard to do, so I want to go out and give them my best, no matter what the circumstances are.
I grew up with Bruce, and he was the most introverted guy you'd ever met in your life. To go from that to like the world's greatest hit singer.
In the documentary, Steve Van Zandt, who's been playing guitar with you for decades now, he says that you're one of the most introverted guys you could meet in your life.
Right.
So I wonder, how did you invent the Bruce Springsteen that is on stage?
Well, you know, introversion is a funny thing. There's a yin and a yang to it. And on my own, I can be very internal. And the other side of me, which was really which I got from my mother, allows me to sing Rosalita and Born to Run and Hungry Heart, and I'm Irish Italian, so I got the blues and I got the joy at the same time.
And I know you've spoken in the past about how playing live has helped you deal with depression.
Mhm.
Is that what you're looking for in the concert then, to lose yourself in the moment?
Absolutely. You know, I've been pretty lucky with the depression. Hasn't bothered me in quite a while. You know? I definitely go up there to completely lose myself. You have to surrender yourself and see what comes up. So I don't know what you got yourself.
What did you discover about yourself on this tour?
Let me see. My back really hurts a lot. No.
In the documentary, Springsteen is seen coming to terms with the idea of his immortality, and it's revealed that his wife and bandmate, Patti Scialfa, was diagnosed with blood cancer in 2018. How is she doing?
She's doing well. We caught it early. No man come true. She's having a tough time at the moment because she needs to have a shoulder replaced and a hip replaced also. So that on top of the myeloma makes it very difficult for her to get out and to get around, you know. Been married for 33 years and love her again. I'm supporting Kamala Harris for president and Tim Walz for vice president. And opposing Connie.
For 2 weeks away from the American election, how do you feel as the vote approaches?
I think she's going to win. I think Tim Walz is going to win. I think Donald Trump is going to lose. I tend to believe that there are still more Americans than fewer who want to pay fealty to the Constitution, the rule of law, the peaceful transfer of power, democracy. I still believe that there's going to be more Americans who are interested in honoring those things and are interested in voting for Donald Trump.
And if, as you predict, Kamala Harris does win, do you think Donald Trump and his team will accept that?
No.
And what will happen then?
There'll be a battle for the certification of the election.
But whatever happens in America, Springsteen is set to tour Europe again next summer.
We rarely turn towards me summers and well. But because it's thunder, I lost my voice. I had to cancel 3 shows, and I had to come back and make them up anyway. So we added about another 10 or 12. You know.
Just 10 or 12, just a few. In your documentary, the bond between you and the Eastern Time is so apparent. And it's apparent on stage anytime we watch you.
Time moves quickly when you are on the road. There's no getting over the loss of Sid Van. Same lineup for 40 years. You never get over the guys you played with for that long.
Do you see them at home? Do you spend Thanksgiving together? Like, what's the relationship?
When we're not playing, we rarely see each other.
Really? You've had enough.
We've seen each other enough. We've seen each other for 50, 60 years. You don't need to see each other down at the club at night. You know, it's one of the ways the band stays together.
Is by giving each other space.
That's right.
I plan on continuing until the wheels come off, and for as long as the audience will follow me.
What constitutes the wheels falling off?
As I said to somebody the other day, we've never seen a hearse with luggage on top. So mine won't have any either. You know? But I'm going to play until it makes sense. Yeah. And which is what I've always thought to do. You know? So we'll see. Yeah.
Well, long may it continue. Bruce, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And there'll be a lot of people hoping that it makes sense, in his own words, for a long time to keep playing.
Of course. Headlines coming up.
Asia, home to the most extraordinary animals. Offering spectacles not found anywhere else on Earth.
Asia with David Attenborough starts Sunday the 3rd of November on BBC One and iPlayer. Are you serious?
Everybody happy? Yeah. It's exactly the effect I wanted and more.
Comedy to lift your mood on BBC iPlayer.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Nanga Marchetti and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. The King has urged Commonwealth countries to commit to learning the lessons of the past, but Prime Minister Keir Starmer rejects paying reparations for slavery.
Plans to ban smoking in some outdoor areas could be dropped by the government after opposition from hospitality groups.
Prosecutors say the two Menendez brothers, who were jailed nearly 30 years ago for murdering their parents in one of the US's first televised trials, should be released.
And good morning. We've got some mist, fog and low cloud for northern and eastern areas. More sunshine though moving in from the southwest, and it's still mild. I'll have all the details coming up shortly.
Good morning, it's Friday the 25th of October. Our main story, the King has urged Commonwealth countries to learn the lessons of the past at the opening of a meeting of the organisation's leaders in Samoa.
Some members of the 56-nation group, made up mainly of former British colonies, want a discussion about reparations for slavery. Our political editor Chris Mason has more from Samoa.
Leadership involves many things: decision-making, accountability and ceremony. This the Samoan welcome for Prime Ministers and Presidents. Some Commonwealth members want the UK and others to compensate them for the impact of slavery. It was a debate the King referred to here in the broadest terms.
None of us can change the past, but we can commit
with all our hearts to learning its lessons and to finding creative ways to right inequalities that endure.
It wasn't an endorsement of so-called reparations, compensation, but a nod to the anger the issue provokes for some. The Prime Minister has ruled out reparations.
I think we should be clear from the outset that the slave trade, slave practice was abhorrent. And it's very important that we start from that place. And of course, that matters hugely to many of the countries that are represented here. My posture, if you like, my focus is on the forward look, not the sort of backward look.
I want to understand the nature of your objection. Is it a financial one, or is it a moral, philosophical one? Can our generation be held responsible for the actions of our forebears?
I think our generation can say the slave trade and practice was abhorrent, and we should. You know, we talk about our history, can't change our history, but we should certainly talk about our history.
Say that, but not apologise, not pay any money.
Well, look, you know, I think that, you know, we recognise that, and of course, apologies have already been made in relation to slave trade, and that's not surprising. It's what we would expect. But if you then go on to the question, you know, we have 55 countries here represented, and say in the conversations I've real concern, particularly with some of the smaller countries, about the impact of climate on them and how we can help with international institutions, financial institutions, to unlock money that might help them.
And the Prime Minister is still building international relationships 4 months into the role. This one of many meetings here, seeing his Australian opposite number.
Time now is just going to 4 minutes past 9. What we always do, don't we, Naga, is try and be clear about things that are being planned, and especially when it comes to laws. This morning, a bit of confusion over rules in relation to where you can smoke.
So at the moment, what do we know? You can't smoke indoors, right? And the hospitality industry had issues about that when that ban was brought in. There have been discussions about whether to ban smoking in some outdoor areas, and there are reports in several papers this morning suggesting that those proposals are going to be dropped because of the opposition from hospitality groups. It isn't clear. So what we do now is we talk to our political correspondent, Harry Farley, and he explains all. Hi, Harry.
Hello, morning, Naga. Yeah, so
confusion.
The confusion is that the Prime Minister in August confirmed this was something the government was looking at, toughening up the rules on outdoor smoking, and particularly banning it in certain places like pub gardens, outdoor restaurants, outside hospitals, for example. So we know that it was something the government was looking at, was exploring. They never sort of put it any more concretely than that. I suppose it's thought Chris Whitty, the Chief Medical Officer for England, in particular, was supportive of the plans. But as you say, the hospitality industry was strongly against it. For example, you know, UK Hospitality, the body that represents the industry, said that the ban threatened serious economic harm to hospitality venues. And this morning, as you say, The Guardian, among others, quoting a Downing Street source saying that Downing Street is now blocking a ban on outdoor smoking. I put that to Downing Street this morning, gave them the opportunity to deny it. They did not. But what several government sources have told us this morning is that no decision has yet been taken. The matter is still being discussed. There will be a smoking bill introduced in front of the House of Commons, debated by MPs before Christmas. But it seems where we're up to is that there is still disagreement, discussion, division across Whitehall over whether that ban on outdoor smoking will be in the bill.
Less confusing, Harry. Thank you so much, Harry Farley, our political correspondent. Now, the UK's largest water company has secured a loan of up to £3 billion to tide the firm over until next September. There were fears that Thames Water, which has more than £15 billion of debt, would run out of money by Christmas. The regulator, Ofwat, has appointed an independent monitor to supervise the company as it attempts a turnaround. Efforts are ongoing in Qatar to restart ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, says he believed the killing of the Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar, could open the way for an agreement. Hamas has said it's ready to stop fighting if Israel commits to a ceasefire deal. A charity set up by the family of Molly Russell, who died by suicide after viewing harmful content online, is warning that the online safety bill isn't strong enough to protect children. Ministers say the legislation would make the internet safer. The NHS regulator says many children and young people in England are struggling to get the mental health support they need because of rising demand and staff shortages. The Health Ombudsman, which handles complaints about the NHS, says the CQC's findings are sobering but not surprising. The chief prosecutor in Los Angeles has recommended Eric and Lau Menendez should be resentenced by a judge and released on parole. The brothers were convicted of murdering their parents more than 3 decades ago. Their case was recently brought back into the spotlight when it was retold in a Netflix series. Our Los Angeles correspondent Emma Vardy explains.
What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? I'm trying to kill my dad.
This 911 call in 1989 sparked a murder case which gripped the world. Brothers Eric and Lyle Menendez, aged 18 and 21, claimed they'd found the bodies of their parents shot dead in their Beverly Hills mansion. But they later admitted carrying out the killings themselves.
Defendants are in court with their attorneys and the people are represented.
During their trial, which was televised, the brothers said they'd been physically and sexually abused by their father and argued it was manslaughter. At the time, they were not believed and were eventually convicted of murder and sentenced to life without parole. But last year, new evidence was revealed which backed up the brothers' claims of abuse, and there were calls from some family members for them to be released.
Lyle and Eric have already paid a heavy price, discarded by a system that failed to recognize their pain. They have grown, they have changed, and they have become better men despite everything that they've been through.
This is a case which divided America and continues to create a huge amount of debate. Today, the district attorney for Los Angeles said he was recommending a lighter sentence for the brothers, which could now mean they walk free.
They have been in prison for nearly 35 years. I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
Eric and I killed our parents together, so I'd say that makes us pretty close.
Eric and Lyle Menendez recently gained widespread attention once again, with 2 Netflix series made about the brothers' story. Now seen as a case which, had it been held with society's modern understanding of abuse, may have had a very different outcome. Emma Vardy, BBC News, Los Angeles.
It is just approaching 10 minutes past 9. Now, staff at London Zoo are appealing for help from the public to locate 2 endangered parrots who've escaped from their enclosure.
Okay, so, wow, they're handsome. It's not the first time the 2 blue-throated macaws, you can tell why they're called those, Lily and Margot are their names. It's not the first time they've made a break for it. Their keepers say they've previously taken detours. They've hidden high up in trees. They've never completely gone missing until now. And so the zoo has asked for any sightings to be reported to them with a photo and information about where you spotted them. I mean, you're not going to miss them if you see them.
No, they're not going to be mistaken as
obviously you'll
a regular bird that you see normally, are they?
No, it's not a pigeon, is it?
They're nothing like a pigeon, is it, Sarah? Nothing like a pigeon.
I tell you what, as the leaves start to fall off the trees as well, if they're out there hiding in some
Yes,
trees,
they've got nowhere to hide. Yes, absolutely.
Nowhere to hide. The leaves are gone, that's it. And mind you, they probably stand out with those blue feathers as well, wouldn't they? We've got the oranges and the reds out there of the autumn colours at the moment. We've also got quite a lot of mist, fog and murk to start the day. This is the picture in Northamptonshire, but we've got clearer skies moving in from the southwest, so a very different story in Milford Haven at the moment. So low pressure is sitting out towards the southwest, bringing us some blustery showers, but also the clearer skies moving in across the likes of Cornwall and Devon too. Bit of rain through parts of central southern England and Wales at the moment. Mist, fog and low clouds sitting across central, eastern and northern England, as well as eastern Scotland. Some drizzly rain for southwest Scotland and for Northern Ireland, nothing too heavy. The rain fairly patchy in nature as it pushes its way northwards. Windy conditions continue through the day across the far southwest, but with the breeze still coming in from the south, that mild air will push temperatures as high as maybe 19, even 20 degrees towards the east and southeast, only 11 or 12 across the north of Scotland. This evening and tonight, it's still a lot of cloud and a few spots of light drizzly rain, just pushing north. More persistent rain starting to move into the far northwest later in the night, but for most of us, clearing skies, drier conditions, we're looking at mid-single figures. A little bit more cloud just holding on tomorrow morning across parts of eastern England, with an odd spot of light rain out of that. Then this weather front brings more persistent rain again into Northern Ireland, northern and western Scotland. But in between, some sunshine coming through. Temperatures a touch lower than recent days, but still around 14 to 16 at best. Into next week, the weather looking a little bit drier and more settled as well. Temperatures around average for the time of year. And don't forget, we are heading back to GMT. It's bye-bye at British summertime. The clocks are going back by 1 hour Sunday morning. Back to you both.
Greenwich Mean Time, here we come. Okay, Sarah, thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
So time now, 12 minutes past 9, and it's time to get the news, travel, and the weather where you are.
Hello, I'm Sarah Farmer with the news in the south. Porters at University Hospital Southampton are being balloted for strike action over a row about breaks. Workers say they've been denied toilet breaks unless they ask permission, and the chairs they used to rest in have been removed from around the hospital. The Trust says porters are a valuable and intrinsic part of the hospital, and there's no such policy around access to toilets. It's launched an independent investigation.
It's obviously really upsetting to hear that our porters are feeling this way. When I became aware of these allegations and issues in August, I immediately commissioned an external review to look at the culture within the department, and also to look at how the department is structured, the capability within the department, the skills, because we really do need to get to the bottom of these really serious issues that are being raised.
Reading-based Thames Water is to borrow up to £3 billion to ensure its survival over the next year. Sources say the funding will give the firm time to restructure its debt and avoid the threat of administration. The company has previously warned it could run out of funds by Christmas if the majority of its lenders did not approve further borrowing to keep it going. Winchester Prison will need sustained support and investment if the jail is to provide decent living conditions and keep prisoners safe. That's according to the Deputy Chief Inspector of Prisons. It follows a report by the watchdog that concluded the prison should be put into emergency measures. Prison inspectors found drug use was rife and that security was compromised by the fact that a third of CCTV cameras were broken. The Prisons Minister said staff were working hard to improve conditions. The owner of a tanning salon in West Sussex, devastated by fire, is offering a £5,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest. Fire crews evacuated 40 people from flats above Tantastic in Broadwater Street West in Worthing on Monday night. Sussex Police has said the fire is being investigated as suspected arson. Time for a look at Friday's forecast now with Georgie Palmer.
Hello. It's a largely dry and settled picture over the weekend, which of course is great news if you've got plans to be out and about. For today, we're going to start the day with some patchy rain, but it will be an improving picture. The rain fizzling out, clearing away to the north and the east. Behind it, dry with some decent spells of sunshine. Quite a breezy day today, and highs reaching at 16 Celsius. It's a quiet picture overnight tonight. The winds ease, the skies begin to clear, some patches of mist, and a cooler night than of late, with lows down to around 7 or 8 Celsius. So patchy mist first thing tomorrow, and then again another largely dry day with some good spells of sunshine, quite a bit of patchy cloud, but temperature-wise similar to today, highs of 15 or 16 Celsius. And actually for Sunday, a very similar outlook thanks to high pressure in charge, plenty of autumnal sunshine, and of course the clocks go back on Sunday morning. Bye-bye.
On the roads, the A34 at Kidlington southbound, one lane is closed because of an earlier crash. That's between Oxford Road and the Pear Tree interchange. And on the A34 northbound at Walton Hill, there's been a crash at the A343 as well. That's it from us. We'll be back at lunchtime. Bye-bye.
Welcome back. Now, tower block inspections after the Grenfell Tower fire are finding a widely used cladding system has not been installed properly in a number of instances, questioning its ability to resist a fire.
The system known as rendered EPS has become increasingly used for building and insulating flats in the UK, and was not one of those types banned on tower blocks after Grenfell. Our reporter Phil Henry has more.
This is a fire test carried out in Australia for a cladding product. It's rendered EPS.
If they saw what was underneath the concrete render, most people would be fairly horrified.
Sorry, language. Hasn't resisted anything. It's just gone up.
We've shown it to residents and an expert, Richard Hull, a professor of chemistry and fire science.
It's expanded polystyrene, which is just the same as the white packaging blocks that you used to get your hi-fi or your TV wrapped in.
After failing this fire test, expanded polystyrene, or EPS, was banned in Australia on new buildings over 2 stories high. I've been trying to get hold of this video for the 4 years since the test was carried out. It's finally been made public.
Actually, the insulation, it burns more easily than the insulation that was on Grenfell. You get this sooty flame, a lot of black smoke, and a lot of that smoke is carcinogenic. So people who escape from a fire might then get cancer years later.
The exterior walls of this huge development in southeast London are built entirely of EPS. In the UK, it requires fire breaks of non-flammable material between the floors. The construction industry says this makes it safe and that the Australian test isn't representative. But post-Grenfell inspections here and elsewhere have found the fire breaks are often poorly fitted or missing completely, something George Boyd, a resident here for 20 years, has to live with daily.
That's like a fire lighter when you're starting a barbecue. It's no sausages, it's people inside these buildings. How could you even think that was right if you're a builder and you're responsible? I think the whole thing's up in flames at the back. It hasn't resisted anything. It's gone up. We're just put the buildings up, sell them. I feel angry now, but I'm also terrified that we're going to get another one of these. And then what are they going to do? They're just going to wring their hands. They're going to say how sorry it is. But they must start to understand that this is really dangerous for us.
The developer Barratt has agreed to replace all the exterior walls at a cost of £13 million, but as yet there's still no start date. So behind the cement render, this is what the polystyrene looks like, and while it's been removed from these high-rise blocks, it remains the preferred method of insulating thousands of low-rise blocks of flats across Britain. Residents of this unassuming block of flats in Macclesfield got a government grant to retrofit EPS to improve its energy efficiency. But after Grenfell, insurers consider it such a fire risk that buildings insurance has recently gone up from £2,000 to £22,000 a year. Many of the residents are pensioners, like Sandra Yoxall.
It's just so infuriating that we are paying this money out. This was the government scheme paid for by the government, the council and the energy company. It seems ludicrous that they're pushing this cost at us.
Actually, if you knock on it, you can tell it's not concrete. Sandra's and the other flats are leasehold and managed by Julian Jones.
This product's still being fitted to buildings up and down the country as fit for purpose. I just worry about how many people are fitting this to their building, not realising that they're either going to have huge insurance premiums or, at the worst case, the blocks might be uninsurable. I knew it was still being offered for sale, but to see it on the front pages of all these people that are offering eco grants, there is not a single word on any of those websites that state that this product is classified as a cladding. So the fact that it is, I've gone from incredulous to just being pretty angry, really.
The Ministry of Housing says it expects insurance premiums where EPS is correctly installed to be priced appropriately, and will challenge cases raised with it where they're not. The department told me although EPS cladding systems can meet UK safety standards in tests, after Grenfell, ministers expect fire inspections to properly assess if EPS has been installed correctly to the required standard. Phil Hendry, BBC News.
21 minutes past 9 is the time. Thousands of people own caravans at holiday parks across the UK, but for some, the dream of a countryside or coastal bolt hole has become a costly nightmare.
Our reporter Chris Baines has been speaking to people who lost their life savings, pensions or inheritance after buying static caravans, feel they should have been given clearer information.
Situated with breathtaking sea views near.
This was Andrew Dawson's retirement dream. He bought a caravan at Skipsea Sands Holiday Park to spend time with his wife Sue and their 4 grandkids. For a couple of years, all was well, until back home in Leeds, he received some devastating news.
I received a cancer diagnosis back in February of this year.
And it's a full
Back then
they gave me 6 months to, as they describe it, a few short years. So we set about selling the caravan, setting things in order. And that experience has been dreadful, really.
Andrew spent £62,000 on his holiday home at Parkdeans Resorts 2 years ago.
I asked about the rate of depreciation. And again, very sort of, well, you don't need to worry about that. Static holiday homes pretty much hold the value.
But after being diagnosed with incurable cancer, Andrew discovered the caravan was worth far less. He offered to sell it back to the company for just £25,000. But the resort weren't interested. So Andrew cut his asking price again to only £17,000, a sum a sales rep agreed to.
And the salesman was there. He was looking quite sheepish. You could see something wasn't quite right. And he said, the directors have told us they'll buy it for £16,000. So he took £1,000 straight off. And we didn't expect any special financial treatment from them. But we expect them, when a member of their staff makes you an offer, that they would honour that.
We approached Parkdean for a response, and they told us they were aware of and sympathetic to Andrew's situation, and they had now contacted him to resolve the matter. But Andrew isn't alone. I've been in contact with dozens of people who have lost money after buying holiday homes. Sally Nichols from Bolsover used her pension pot to buy a £69,000 lodge at Tattershall Lakes Holiday Park. She told a salesperson she wanted to rent it out to families and live off the income in her retirement.
He provided the information regarding the expenses, but also provided information regarding what I could expect as an income. And at that stage, it looked like a good proposition.
For the first year, Sally was able to make a small profit, but then Away Resorts, who run the park, repeatedly put up fees for private owners while renting out their own holiday homes for less.
The passes for access to the facilities went up between £120 and £200 a couple, 3 nights a week or 4 nights a week, and that more or less put a complete halt, if you like, to the booking coming in. It came as quite a shock to realise that I wasn't going to get my pension back to live on.
Away Resorts told us they provided all prospective buyers with comprehensive information to ensure they had full awareness of the potential risks, and they were clear there were no guarantees about income from subletting. Well, it's too late for Sally to recoup the money she lost. Ibrahim Dalmir, a barrister who specialises in holiday park law, says other prospective buyers should be more aware.
You wouldn't spend your life savings or a significant proportion of your life savings on a caravan without doing your due diligence. It's really, really essential. The bottom line is you should get your independent legal advice, regardless of what that salesperson says to you.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, Andrew.
Come on in.
Since we spoke to Parkdean, the company have contacted Andrew to try to settle their dispute.
He asked me if I got the £1,000 back, would that sort of solve the problem. It didn't change my view on Parkdean, and it didn't change my view on the industry.
More than 27,000 people have signed a petition calling for stricter regulation of the holiday parks industry to stop people like Sally and Andrew being left out of pocket. Chris Baines, BBC News.
9:25. The High Court will rule today on whether the government's climate adaptation plan was lawful. It's after a disability rights activist who lost his home to coastal erosion says the plans are insufficient and breach his human rights.
If campaigners are successful, the government may be forced to develop a new plan. Our climate and science reporter, Esme Stallard, has more.
This was my access road. There was houses all along here and both sides of the road.
14 years ago, Kevin Douglas made the decision to retire to the Norfolk seaside village of Hemsby. Experts and estate agents said it would be 100 years before his home would be at risk from coastal erosion. But very quickly, it became clear it would be much sooner, as climate change brought more extreme weather.
It started almost immediately, a couple of years, that storms seemed to be getting a little bit more frequent. All of a sudden, and those storms were becoming more violent, and all of a sudden, lumps of my coastline were being bitten out.
By last December, his house was on the edge of the cliff. The council said it had to be demolished, and a week later, it was gone. He was left homeless and with no compensation.
How does it feel? Well, I'm very sad. Very, very sad. I lost everything.
He says the government is not preparing the country for the realities of climate change and is now taking it to court asking for a new plan. Joining him in the court action is Doug Pawley. Living 200 miles away on the other side of the country in a care home far from the coast, he has been suffering under rising heat. Doug is disabled and his health conditions mean he can't regulate his own body temperature.
In temperatures where everybody else is comfortable, I'm far too hot. So when it gets properly hot, then I really struggle and it can impact my quality of life and my mental health.
Doug says when the government plan was drafted, disabled people weren't properly consulted, and it has left care homes ill-prepared and the people that live there vulnerable. The government said it cannot comment on ongoing legal proceedings, but said it will ensure that the UK is prepared for climate changes, and it will waste no time in improving the durability of the country's infrastructure and enhancing protections against flooding. Back in Hemsby, it is too late for Kevin, but he hopes this action can save his neighbours.
I lost my battle last December, but I'm still in the fight because there's so many people next in line.
Esme Sellard, BBC News.
I think we will leave you today with some images that you sent us, actually, which kind of reflect all these changes right now.
Changes happening, as you've seen behind us. You've sent in lots of pictures. Thank you so much. Susan McQueen, thank you. This is taken at South Hill Parks Arts Centre in Bracknell.
I don't want to see. I don't want to
Impressive
see.
carpet of orange leaves. This on the street in Beckenham. Thank you, Richard, for sending that in.
And let's have a look at this image. This is Hazel in Cumbria and Helen. This is Pitlochry. That is very beautiful.
Very beautiful. One more. Binning Woods in local woodland in East Lothian. Wow. In Scotland. Thank you so much, all of you, for sending your pictures in. Breakfast, of course, back tomorrow at 6.
Time now for Morning Live.
Thank you both. I tell you what, wasn't bad in Manchester this morning, was it?
Beautiful.
Sunrise all week.
Beautiful here.
Actually, lovely pictures there. Coming up,
I'm blue, abba-dee, abba-dum,
run by scammers.
Plus, over 1 million people in the UK have the lung condition COPD, and some may not even know it. So we explain.
I'm a scammer. I'm a rammer. I'm gonna kick your door in.
Opening its doors and
really, I'm a fucking policeman. Oh, good morning, Zephyr. Oh, well. Oh.
Hello and welcome to Morning Live on a Friday. On the show today, we have Strictly's Neil Jones, Dr. Beaner, Chef John Gregory Smith, consumer expert Lisa Webb, and Scam Interceptors Nick Stapleton. Good morning, team.
Good morning. Nice to see you all, Nick. We have had such an incredible reaction after you did the film with your dad, John, TV legend, John Stapleton, start the week about Parkinson's. I know you've been blown away by the response you've had to this film.
Yeah, I think both of us were just incredibly touched, and Dad was texting me the night after the film went out saying he just couldn't believe the response that he'd had, the amount of messages he'd had. I think I had to charge my phone 3 times a day on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, just because of the volume of notifications that I was getting from people. I honestly couldn't believe it. But I think what I really think about it is like it's obviously lovely. But if one person watched that film and found it easier to have a difficult conversation because of it, I'm happy.
It wasn't one. It was hundreds of thousands in the end across the board. I mean, very difficult to pick out a few, but just to give you an example, Valerie saying, thank you for the film with John Stapleton with his son Nick. After watching, I was able to talk to my husband about his future care after being diagnosed with Parkinson's. It's really helped him to know that someone else was experiencing the same as him.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Honestly, we've had so many messages, Nick. I mean, Maggie said today's interview with Nick Stapleton and his dad was so poignant. not simply highlighting Parkinson's, but the difficult conversations that we have to have with our families about future care needs.
And that's the point, you know, with our Living with Cancer series we're doing as well, we're saying the whole time it's important to have that conversation with a loved one. You have that on screen, and it's helped a lot of people, as you say.
Yeah, it's it's a really difficult thing to go through, and I just wanted to try and find a way. I was thinking about what my mum would have done, and she liked to take difficult things like that and try and turn them into something positive to help other people, and I hope that's what we've done.
Yeah. Thank you for doing it. Thanks to John as well. Do you know, it was really lovely seeing him on telly as well. You know,
He loved it.
Yeah, I bet.
He loved being back. You know, he's not been doing it for a while. I think he's really enjoyed himself.
So many people know him fondly. Thank you for doing it. This is what else is coming up on the show today on Morning Live. We're talking about safety on the road. Someone is killed or seriously injured on UK roads roughly every 17 minutes. At 10 to 10, we find out why size isn't everything when it comes to car safety, and the simple checks we can do, like adjusting a headrest to protect you on your journey.
Yes. Now, then at 9:55, one thing we should have all done this morning,
Got teeth in?
hopefully, talk about teeth, is get our teeth
See, I
clean,
told you.
right? Here's the question, guys. Where did you leave your toothbrush?
By the sink.
Yeah,
Obviously,
obviously,
obviously.
right? But how close is the sink to your loo?
Oh no! Don't
No,
do that. We know what's coming next.
Okay. Yeah, and do you remember to always put the lid down on your loo before you flush it?
Next question. My toilet's an incinerator one. It burns everything.
Okay, now we're sharing why you might need to rethink keeping it in the bathroom. That's all I'm saying for now.
I can't stop thinking about it. Bathroom now. Plus at 10 a.m, it's that time of year when the temperatures drop and the darker evenings roll in. So with lots of us using trying to dry our clothes indoors, we're talking about tumble dryers today, Lisa. We're allowed to talk about tumble dryers. It's okay to talk about tumble dryers.
We can talk about tumble dryers. Over 50% of the population's got a tumble dryer. They can be a little bit spenny, a bit expensive to use, but we're going to give you a few tips on how to keep the costs down. And there are settings as well that you can use that actually make it a bit more energy efficient. Also, a few tips on if you don't have a tumble dryer.
Perfect.
Awesome. And then at 10:15, we're cooking the ultimate weekend treat, steak.
Yeah.
Now, John, it's an indoors dish.
It is,
Okay, so
right.
if we've spent quite a bit of money here, you want to make sure that it's perfect.
You do. You want to make sure you get it right, and I'm going to show you the top tips to get like restaurant quality at home with the easiest tool ever, your actual own hand. And it's going to be so yum, and I'm going to make sirloin, which is my favourite.
The golden question, though, how would you have it cooked?
I would always say a medium rare. That's gold standard for this. It's just chef's kiss beautiful.
Okay, and you're going to show us.
Absolutely.
Wait for that.
From Perfect Steaks to Perfect Scores. Neil is back in charge of Strictly Fitness. We've been looking at iconic performances that have earned celebs a 10 quite early on in the series.
Yeah, I'd like to know how they do it.
Well, me and Hannah tried showing people on Monday, but this was the move that we had to show.
Yeah, it's kind of funny watching you do it and then actually watching the video and seeing how it should have been done. So this is from Calvin and Oti, the chicken arms. Again, then we moved over to Alexander Betancourt with the side taps, which were great. Leighton Williams and Nikita with that little hip roll, which is a nice one. You can do it sitting as well. And then we finished with a sweeping arms from John Waite and Johannes, which are really good at passing over. It's like wiping down a table.
Oh, we nailed it yesterday. We were brilliant at the sweeping.
I love that move. They were doing it just like that yesterday.
And actually, all of these moves are really good because they look great and they're easy to do.
Yeah. It's instinct now, baby. You wait till later. What goes wrong? Get in touch with us if you've got a question or comment for anyone here. As usual, you can email morninglive@bbc.co.uk. We love to hear from you.
We do, and first today, it's exactly 2 months until Christmas, and research has shown that nearly half of UK adults are feeling pressured to spend above their means for that big day.
Always the case, isn't it? Scammers have cottoned on to this and are enticing people with promises of quick cash and all kinds of different things. One of those things, Nick, is an extra, like a bit of a side hustle, maybe a fake job.
It is, and I'm going to hit you with a Stapleton's shocking stat first. which is that the average cost of Christmas per household in the UK is almost £2,000. That's the average.
That's crazy.
So it's a time when we're spending a lot of money, and of course, scammers know that. They don't just watch world events for new scams; they watch the calendar as well. And in the run up to Christmas, a lot of people are going to want to earn some extra money. So there's plenty of these job scams, task scams, survey scams going around at the moment. And a viewer has sent us in a job scam text, which he got sent. It's a very classic, too good to be true genre message, I would say. And there's a few red flags that I would just go through. So the first thing that I think is important to point out is that it is very common that the job market works this way these days. If you're, say, join a temping agency or something like that, you will probably be getting texts from people to say, this job is available, etc. So just to point out that this is not uncommon. This is a real thing that happens. So if you're watching this thinking, oh, well, why would you be getting texts about a job? This does really happen. But there's a lot of red flags in that message that I just want to go through quickly and point out. So the first one is this very sort of personal, chatty approach that they take to disarm you straight away, saying, hi, sorry to bother you, kind of thing. It's immediately very, very disarming straight away. And it's also a very appealing opportunity that they're selling. So there's a few things here that are quite typical, I would say. The first one is that the pay is extremely good and the hours extremely short. And I would be certainly investigating any opportunity that was quite that good thoroughly before I agreed to
£300 per day, and what is it, over 5 to 15 days? Annual leave, something annual leave as well.
It's a lot, exactly. And there's no name given of the agencies that they're claiming they've been contacted by. There's no name given of an employer there either. It's quite vague in that regard. There's also quite weird amounts of annual leave and a strange age limit on it. It says that you get 5 to 15 days of annual leave, which just seems a bit odd. And then also that you have to be over 20 to do the job. Now, I can't really imagine a situation where you'd have to be over 20. I mean, if you're an adult, you can work. So I don't really see why a 20 age limit is ever something that would be realistic. Also, dead giveaway, there's a link there that you've got to click through to carry on interacting. And it's a shortened link, which scammers do quite like to use because it makes it harder to work out where the link is taking you. So they put it into a thing called a URL shortener, which basically just squeezes a website into a jumble of letters and numbers, and that sometimes makes it easier to get through spam filters. So that's probably why they've done that.
What did you say about links?
Oh, Victor this week, I'm on in live view, came in and said if there's a link, think.
Ooh, that's great. I wish I'd come up with that.
Well, Victor came up with it and it was great.
I praise Victor.
It's not just fake jobs, is it not?
No, it's not. And there's this other thing around called task scams. So it's quite similar to a fake job scam. But basically, they usually begin again with an out-of-the-blue approach, most commonly on an encrypted messaging app, like, for example, WhatsApp or Telegram. Those are the two most common ones. What they'll do is they'll offer you quite enticing, quite flexible work and extremely good money. The ones that I've seen most commonly tend to involve working on things like travel websites. I've seen another one where you had to rate apps and another one where you had to rate movies that had just come out. But basically, what the scammers will do is they'll set you up working on a website that they've created themselves, but which features real known brands. And the work that you do is genuinely a type of work that exists. So it will be basically like rating things and saying this thing's 5 stars, this thing's 5 stars, whether it's an app or a film or a travel opportunity or whatever it might be. Now, that kind of work does really exist in the world. It's called reputation management. It does actually happen online. Like, companies really do that. So that's not completely unrealistic. But with these scams, that work has no value. You're not doing something real. You're basically doing fake work to be persuaded that it actually adds up to money, which you see as your pay appearing in the website that the scammers have created. The way they scam you is that when you've been doing the work for a bit, they'll say, oh, if you want to get paid more money, you've got to do one of these special tasks that get you loads more wages. But in order to do a special task, you have to deposit some of your own money, basically. And that's why they scam you, because basically it always works out in their favour. They always end up with more of your money than you get paid, even though it seems like it might not end up that way.
It's the lengths that scammers go to try and get your money. They just don't stop.
No, they don't. And this one really sort of works on the psychology of betting, because of the fact that you're thinking always, oh, there's this opportunity to get loads of money. I should put some of my own money in so that I could get loads of money out afterwards. And it uses that kind of gambling psychology to trick you into keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Inevitably, obviously, once you've put in enough money that the scammers are satisfied, one day you'll go to log on to carry out your work and the website just won't exist anymore. the person who's contacted you, they won't be there either. So your money will disappear sadly if you go for one of these.
Absolutely crazy, isn't it?
It's scary stuff, isn't it? Have you got an example of that text scam that you had?
I do.
When they go to these lengths, I know you like to get involved and see exactly what's going on. So explain what that is.
So this is a message.
Anastasia.
Yeah, from lovely Anastasia. This is a message that I received out of the blue on Telegram. And they were offering me exactly this type of work where I had to go onto a very reputable travel website and I had to tick things and click on things and like certain things in order to get paid. The interesting thing about this one is that what they also did was they added me into a group with what seemed like about 20 other employees of this company that they claimed that they were. And I worked out very quickly that every single other person in that group was just another scam. And I think it's highly likely that all of it was run by one person. So they were basically just fake accounts that were all in this group with me. And they were selling to me how brilliant the job was, how much money they were making from it, you know, what a wonderful opportunity it was, how grateful I should be that it fell into my lap. And of course, what it is it's all just window dressing. They're just trying to make you believe that this is a real opportunity and that you're going to make great money from it. And so you can feel reassured because you've got all these other people there telling you that it's brilliant. But unfortunately, it's not. It's a scam.
Yeah, that is, it's crazy, isn't it? Thank you very much. There's always something new, isn't there?
So I should come out of that group chat then.
Yeah, I would, especially in time for Christmas. Mate.
Now, you can report scam messages by forwarding them to report@phishing.gov.uk, and phishing websites can be reported to the National Cyber Security Centre. We'll put all the details over on our website too, which is just bbc.co.uk/morning live.
Always worth doing that, isn't it? Because it will help someone else for sure. Switching gears now, with more than 41 million cars on UK roads, serious accidents happen around every 17 minutes. But the overall number of incidents is decreasing.
Yes, a lot of this is down to advances in testing and technology, and presenter Sherry Murphy has been investigating how it's not the size of the car that can save your life, but the safety features inside.
Have you ever had to slow down to a crawl in order to fit your car around a tight corner? Or tried to park beside another vehicle that seems too big for the space? Well, you're not imagining it. The average new car is getting wider at a rate of 1 centimetre every 2 years.
And with big cars comes some even bigger problems. They're tricky to manoeuvre, they're less fuel efficient, and some come with a hefty price tag.
But research shows bigger cars tend to provide better crash protection than smaller vehicles because they can absorb more impact. However, improvements to safety standards overall mean all sizes of cars are now safer than ever. Hannah Binns was driving her small car on the M6 last year and quickly discovered just how modern safety testing saved her life.
I was driving home from work last December. I saw some cars coming down the slip road, but as I merged over, something hit my driver's door, and that sent my car spiralling across the motorway. I went over a barrier and ended up upside down into the woods.
You must have been absolutely terrified.
It was petrifying. I just thought, this is it. I'm going to die. I just gripped the steering wheel and just kind of started praying a little bit, and was just like, if someone was watching, like, please help. So I was incredibly relieved when the car stopped. So at that point I thought, right, I'm okay. But now what? I'm stuck and there's no one there to help.
Hannah's car had an SOS button, which has been a mandatory safety feature in all new car models since April 2018.
I noticed there's an SOS button that's on your car roof, and obviously because I was upside down, it was next to me. It was just glowing red, so I thought, well, I'll press it. And luckily it rang through to someone, and I remember a lady being like, what service do you require? And I was just screaming, everything, just send everything. I don't know where I am. I'm upside down in a wood. Please help.
Using the car's GPS location to pinpoint her position, the emergency services arrived on the scene and Hannah was able to alert them to exactly where she was.
I could see lights and I heard a siren. So at that point, I just started honking my car horn, and eventually they approached and they were quite shocked to find that I was alive and conscious in the car. And at that point, I thought, I've been incredibly lucky here.
What did they say about the car, the kind of state that it was in?
It had done what it's supposed to do. It protected me. Sure, it had all crumpled and it was a write-off. But they did say, you know, that car has saved your life.
Hannah escaped with only a few cuts and bruises and was so impressed with the car's safety performance that she's replaced her car with the exact same model, which has a 5-star rating from the safety standard organisation Euro NCAP.
That means it performed well in rigorous crash testing. Now, this facility in Nuneaton is the first in the UK where cars can be tested to the very highest standard of safety.
Meaning small cars like Hannah's will keep getting safer and safer. This is the home to the UK's first head-on collision impact crash test, bringing in a safety rating for manufacturers, proving the car's safety features not only protect the passengers, but the other vehicles involved in the crash. Matt Avery is NCAP's Director of Strategic Development.
So a lot of people think driving bigger cars, you're going to be safer. But will these new safety standard tests change that?
These new tests will force the manufacturer of the big car to protect the people in the small car as well. And it means, therefore, that you'll be able to drive a smaller car in the confidence that you're likely to be protected in a collision with a big one.
The car and the mobile barrier, representing an average car, both drive along the 170-metre track at 30 miles per hour before crashing head-on. The damage is then analysed in order to confirm if the car would pass this safety standard.
So what makes a car safe?
The first thing we're looking at is the occupant cell. And we want this to be very, very stable and not deformed in the collision. And that means that the airbags and the seatbelts can really work to their optimum, even in a high-speed collision. And then the other part is here. Now, this might look bad, but this is actually really good because this has crushed and absorbed the energy of the crash.
The mobile barrier is then analysed to see how much damage would be done to the other car.
And measure the deformation in this barrier. And this tells me whether it's really, really aggressive or it's very uniform and soft and would protect a small car. And that's the trick to this new test.
Better results in a test is one thing, but what about out on the road? When accidents happen, the emergency services are often first on the scene. Firefighter Andrew Freeman says he's seen safety standards improving over the last 20 years.
I've seen significant improvements in safety features such as airbags, post protection, reinforcements within the vehicles that have all contributed towards positive outcomes in collisions. What I would like to see is that continue over the next 20 years and we start looking at the technology such as using AI and those preventable measures in the vehicles to stop those accidents happening in the first place.
Now, if you don't own a car with all the latest safety features in them, what sort of tips can you give to make sure that you are safe in your car?
First and foremost, visual inspections of the vehicle, checking tyres, checking your windscreen, making sure there's no cracks in there, making sure that the head restraint is at the top of the individual's head, which would help to reduce that movement if there was a collision. Checking lights, if there is any bulbs that are not working, get them changed. Also looking at the airbags, understanding where your safety systems are and if there's any warning lights on the vehicle, that you do get those checked by a suitably qualified technician.
Improving safety standards is one of the reasons fatalities on our roads have decreased sharply over the last 20 years. But with an average of 5 deaths per day due to road traffic accidents, there's still work to be done. The hope is those numbers will continue to fall as the standards and technology get more sophisticated year on year.
As road users, it's our responsibility to drive safely. But what I find reassuring is all the work that goes on behind the scenes to ensure our cars are as safe as they can possibly be.
I found that fascinating. So after I saw that, I had no idea that you had that SOS. And I looked in my car, there it is.
Yeah.
But if I'd been in an accident and not just seen that, I wouldn't know to press that. I do now.
And the fact they've got safety features on bigger cars now to help protect smaller cars on the road.
I thought that was brilliant.
As well. Yeah, really
Love
interesting
that.
stuff. Lots of us might be coughing and wheezing at the moment, especially as temperatures drop. And whilst these are symptoms of a common cold, they could also be signs of the lung condition COPD.
There's 1.2 million living in the UK with COPD. And Dr. Vina is here. Welcome to the show, Dr. Vina.
Thank you for having me.
So why is it that people might not realise that they have it?
So a lot of people may just put the symptoms down to general aging, thinking that breathlessness is a result of that. Of course, aging can make you a little bit breathless when you do things, but if it's stopping you from doing your day-to-day things like hoovering or going up the stairs, that's when you need to think something else is going on.
Stop and check. What exactly is it?
Yeah, that's me, yeah.
So it stands for, COPD, it's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. We'll break this down. So chronic
Life insurance,
means
no.
having a very
I'm not going to pay for the life
obstructive,
insurance.
there's
No.
not enough air getting into the lungs, that's the main issue. Pulmonary just means it's to do with the lungs.
Oh, did I really? I met life. Yeah, I did actually, but I got sectioned for 18 years. It was my mother that done that. She went. I mean, my mother. She had a guy helping her out, and that guy said I was the best son she had. I was a Cub Scout Army cadet. I actually come down the piano man, and I covered Somerset in London. Let me see. After that, I started helping families in Southampton, and then I helped families next door to my mum and behind my mum. And what it was, my mum, she was quite jealous. And she wasn't very nice. She hated the children. And what it was, she went to Desborough House in Eastleigh, and she spoke to an old lady, and the old lady asked me to get into an ambulance. So I was taken to Winchester, section in Marbury Lodge in Winchester. Then it took 18 years to get my freedom.
Yes, let's tell everyone what
It's really sad and terrible. I'm actually still scared about ambulances and things like that. And what it is, what I do is they've labelled me as very psychopathic, schizophrenic, bipolar, schizoaffective, and unwell playing music. Now I do like Beethoven. I listen to piano, and I sold loads of pianos all around the country. What it is, they just labelled me, put me down. I mean, my mate, they killed him. Well, he killed himself. His name's Keith Gordon. He's dead. A bloke across the road and all that. I still get threats from the police and everything, and I'm trying to get someone to deal with the issues. And I'm actually, what I'm doing is goodie bags. I'm buying to the Temu website, and I'm putting loads. I've got loads to send today. LCD tablets, whistles, horns, watches. Little bits and pieces for kids and all that, and also my history, and my daughter, and my grandchildren, and how good I was, and how funny I can be, and all that. And other families with big smiles everywhere, and I'm sending it all to different places around the country.
Before and after taking a special medicine, and that result will tell us.
Yeah, okay. If you want to give me an address, I'll send you a goodie bag today. I can send it straight to your door. Free. You ain't got to pay a penny. If you want it.
Now suddenly,
all right. All right then. Okay. Bye bye.
If there's blood in it, that's not something you should sit on at all.
So there's no cure. You can treat. You can manage it. How do you manage COPD?
Yeah, so that you're absolutely right. There is no cure, but you can treat it and manage it. So depending on the severity of your condition, it could be medication, which is inhalers, tablets, could be oxygen therapy, could be rehabilitation therapy.
Hello, Jake.
But the big one.
Oh, Matt. Hello, Matt. I believe Jake's going to pick me up today. Isn't he? I'm sure he is. About 11:30. I think it's
it's easy for people.
Where are we actually going then?
It's hard. Over 6 million people in the UK currently smoke, and
can I just say something? I got my benefits on Tuesday, 4.57. I did pay like 186 quid to get one of my gold rings back. I've done some shopping, but I ain't got much food really. I ain't got much left really. I spent about 40 quid in Poundland and about 10 quid in Sainsbury's. I did actually fill my bag up for like 40 quid worth from Sainsbury's, but I had to say no to some of the food because I couldn't afford it. So today I'm going to put my Armani watch and my other watch, and they give me 60 quid for it, and I paid 80 to get it back. But I've got to post a few goodie bags. I must send them. I've also given some information about the vehicle I used to drive when I was down in Somerset, in Taunton in Somerset. To all the families, selling pianos from 175. So they're looking into all that down in Somerset. But there's my daughter, my grandchildren. There's some families I've been helping. LCD tablets, whistles, watches, horns. I even chucked in a plaster in each bag, and other things as well. Really quite intelligent stuff. Just free, just out to an address.
Some exercises, I think.
But I must go. Yeah, so I'll tell you what it is. It's a boarding school in Bridgewater. I think it is, or Taunton. I've got the address. It's all ready to be sent there. And also one in Leeds to Hyde Park, I think it is. I could send a few more, and I'll actually hand out a few bags as well. So I've got to go to Cascaveras, and I've got to go into the Swan Centre and just post some parcels and then do what Jake wants to do.
That's one variation. If getting up is really easy, you can put your hand here to increase resistance, but the key is leaning forward and then breathing out. Yeah, so sit to stand is what we call this.
Heel raises.
Yes, so the heel raises. So what people
it's pretty cool. He normally does,
give me time. Is when the muscles contract and push. So when you're walking, running, that's when blood pushes up. So you want to get to a surface so you don't fall over.
What form? What form?
Coffee table, and slowly just go on your toes. Hold it there. For 1
well,
seconds,
I don't think I've got it. To be honest,
pushes the
I've not had it yet. I don't think I've received it.
Of clots, and you're focusing on your breathing as well. So you take a deep breath in, and then as you breathe out, you go up and come down.
You see the trained dancer in your
right, okay, mate. All right.
But that's where you want to get to, isn't it?
Hello, Jake. I don't think I've got that form. That's wow. I'm sure I haven't.
Recommended resources to help stop smoking.
No, I don't think I have actually. No, I'm sure I haven't.
Rehabilitation.
But they did send me on the. They told me on the phone it's going to be November. I've got to get it sorted by November.
It is, almost
and I was having a good. I had a good chat with them as well. I told them everything about family. Honestly.
John Gregory Smith tells us why the secret to cooking the perfect steak.
All we got to do, all we got to do is go. Cascaveras, get some cash, put some watches in. And go into the post office and post some parcels. Do you know what? I've got to get some money because I've got no food.
Now, 20 past 10, with more than a quarter of us thought to have some form of hearing loss. This is brilliant. We're up
yeah, okay. Well, how long are you going to be, do you reckon?
And finding out how the music industry.
Oh, all right, mate. Okay, right. Yeah, okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Chat to National Treasure John, please, about how you can enjoy a night at Fawlty Towers in a town near you.
And at 10:40, another icon, Neil is going to be rounding up. Yes, he is. He's going to be rounding up Strictly Fitness for the week. Now, we've been looking at performances that earned a 10 from the judges early on, Neil.
Maybe if we had those vibrating jackets, more people would attend as well. Even one time.
Out for the beat.
Exactly.
What we got? Remind us.
Oh, we've got some great news. Of course, we started with what Kev was showing us at the beginning. This is Calvin and Otis, the chicken arms, a little bit in Charleston, which is brilliant. We then moved on to Alexander Black and Gorka, and that's with the side taps. And then we went on to Leighton Williams and Nikita for that little hip roll. And of course, finishing off with John Wade and Johannes with the table spikes. Nice little paso doble movement.
Mega paso doble, that.
There's some really good movements in there.
Go on, guys. Where, John? Where? From the glitz of Strictly to something not quite as glamorous. We're talking about cleaning our teeth now, but more specifically, our toothbrushes. And what might lurk amongst the bristles.
Yeah, the average brush is home to millions of bacteria, and presenter Bryony May Williams has been investigating why you might want to seriously think twice about keeping yours in the bathroom.
Brushing our teeth is something of a morning ritual. We want our teeth to be as clean as possible. But I've discovered where you keep your toothbrush might have some discomforting implications. Where do you keep your toothbrush in the bathroom?
My toothbrush on the sink in a little pot.
In a little glass jar at home.
In the bathroom?
Yeah.
Under the basin there's a cupboard. I keep it on the bathroom window sill.
How far away is that from your toilet?
About 4 feet.
And how far away is it from your toilet?
4 feet.
If your toothbrush is out on display too, you might want to put your breakfast down for this bit. 2 years ago, the University of Colorado Boulder published this footage showing what happens if you flush a toilet without the lid down. This fecal fountain is a collection of water and bacteria from whatever is in your toilet being sprayed into the air. The theory is this could then land on your toothbrush, which you then put in your mouth. I wanted to know how realistic this theory is, so we collected 19 random used toothbrushes and gave them to microbiologist Dr. Fabrizio Alberti at the University of Warwick to test. Brace yourselves. I'm excited to find out what you found on our toothbrush samples.
So this one here comes from one toothbrush. So each spot here is a colony that comes from a single bacterium. So as you can see, there were loads of bacteria on this toothbrush.
Wow, yes, that is a lot of bacteria. Okay, a bit gross, but perhaps unsurprising. Our mouths are full of bacteria. Do you know what type of bacteria that is?
So these are fecal bacteria that are normally found in our gut.
Yes, it looks like the theory is true. In 5 of the 19 brushes, the lab found fecal bacteria. That's bacteria that comes from feces. How does poo bacteria end up on a toothbrush?
When we flush the toilet, if the lid is not closed, then aerosols can travel up to 6 feet in the bathroom and reach the toothbrush, transporting the bacteria.
This bacteria that's in our mouth, particularly the fecal bacteria, people might be wondering, is this going to cause me harm?
Normally, it shouldn't be causing harm. Sometimes they can lead to consequences, for example, gum disease and E. coli, which is an indicator of contamination with fecal matter, can lead to diarrhea.
Okay, so don't panic. Mostly this stuff won't harm you, but it is a bit gross. I wanted to see if this was surprising to people. Would it surprise you to know that some toothbrushes have poo particles on them? I don't like to think about that.
That's disgusting. I never thought of poo particles.
Can you see why that would happen in the bathroom?
Because every time you flush it.
But the good news is there's some really simple steps to avoid your toothbrush getting tainted. If your toothbrush is placed close to the toilet, it's more likely to come into contact with airborne particles and water splashes, which could potentially lead to contamination. At the very least, shut that toilet lid before flushing. Brushing obviously cleans your mouth, but all that gunk has to go somewhere, so it's important to do more than just rinse your toothbrush. At least once a week, deep clean your toothbrush by leaving it overnight in a cup of water with a dissolvable denture cleansing tablet. You can also soak your toothbrush in antibacterial mouthwash. Toothbrush holders aren't immune from viruses, bacteria and mold either, so they should also be cleaned weekly, as should electric toothbrush chargers. Unplug and wipe down with a damp microfiber cloth and a few drops of washing up liquid. To help stop germs from spreading, make sure your toothbrushes don't touch each other. If there are multiple people living in your household, store your toothbrushes a few inches apart to avoid direct contact. This simple step helps prevent bacterial cross-contamination and keeps everyone's brush clean. And as a general rule, you should replace your toothbrush or toothbrush head every 3 months. I won't lie, what I've learned today has made me feel a little bit sick, but don't panic. There's unlikely to be enough bad bacteria on the average brush to make you unwell. So to lower your risk, follow those tips and keep your pearly whites feeling right.
I am going to do exactly that and follow those tips, and I'm going to start and I'm going to once a month disinfect all of
You're not going to do it. You're not going to do any of it.
I'm going to do mine and
You can
Sam's
say what, you're not going to do it. And you're going to be fine. That's what.
Well, I am absolutely doing that. I know I'm going to do that.
Where did you keep your toothbrush, Liz?
Oh, by the
Guilty?
sink, and now it's a bit minging, isn't it?
That's absolutely what it is.
One way to look at it. Now we're brushing up on how to cut the cost of using the tumble dryer now, as the colder and darker days mean more of us are going to be drying our clothes inside.
Yeah, Lisa, we're talking about tumble dryers, aren't we?
Yeah.
They sometimes seen as being a bit like energy guzzling, but you have ways around that.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously more expensive than doing free things like hanging your washing outside to dry. But we are getting into the winter months, and hanging your washing outside to dry is not really going to be an option all the time. I mean, I live in Cardiff, it's always raining, so it's not really the place to be drying washing. Now, there are different types of tumble dryer here. So not all tumble dryers are made equal, and different ones cost different amounts, but also have different energy usage. So I've got some stats here. We've got sort of vented dryer, that's that kind of traditional one where you might see the tube going out the window. Vented dryers, they cost about £1.23 per load to use. Now that is a bit of a gas guzzler, isn't it? It's an energy guzzler. We're talking averages. It might be more, might be less, depending on like how much you're using it or what your tariff is. But a condenser dryer, that's not much better. That one's £1.20 per load to use. But actually, there is a heat pump dryer. Now that's the one I would recommend. Anyone getting a new tumble dryer, I would say get a heat pump because they're only about 50 pence per load to use. It's a big difference. So if you look at like the annual running costs, what that actually turns into, for the heat pump dryer, about £50 per year if you're doing 3 loads a week. Now that's not all that much. If you compare to the others, you're looking at maybe sort of £130, £140 a year. So it's not actually that much. Now heat pump dryers, I will say it, up front, they are more expensive. So you will probably need to spend over £500 for one of those. You can get cheaper, we've got sales coming up, but you can get cheaper, but because they do save you on the energy costs, they will eventually take themselves off.
Yeah. Now, assuming that we've got one at home, we are using it, what can we do to keep those costs down?
So there are different things we can do. We can try and use cheaper electricity. So if you've got a smart meter, and I've been on talking about smart meters before, and sometimes a bit controversial, but if you have got one, your energy provider might tell you actually there's different hours of the day that you can get cheaper fuel. And so sometimes it's in the evenings or overnight after 10 p.m. before 8 a.m. Now it's worth noting here, there is a very, very small risk of fire with tumble dryers because they get very, very hot. So do bear that in mind. And there is official guidance from the fire brigade here, and they say do not go to bed with your tumble dryer on. So even if you're likely to get cheaper energy overnight, do it late at night, fine, but don't go to bed with your tumble dryer on. The other thing you can do is actually speak to your energy provider and say, have you got any deals on any promotions? We know that British Gas at the moment's got a promotion. They've got Peak Save. So Peak Save Sundays, for example, if you're a British Gas user and you've got what you might be able to get is on Sundays between certain hours, you get cheaper energy. So speak to your energy provider and just see if they've got any promotions available. And then if you use your dryer during those cheaper hours, you'll have to. The other thing you might want to think about is actually optimizing the dryer itself, and that involves actually looking after it. Now, Sarah, you said you've had your dryer.
Well, 15 years we've had our dryer, and it's still going strong.
You're clearly looking after it.
Yes, but it's probably a non-efficient one, isn't it?
Well, maybe.
I look after it though, clean the lint out.
That's key. That's absolutely key. So, cleaning out your lint filter, we've got a little video here. This is me trying to do it in the kitchen with one hand. But you can see, just pick it out. And then every so often get your Hoover and, vacuum cleaner, sorry, all models available. So get it in there and get the lint out, because what that means is the airflow still going through, keeps it more efficient. There's also something called the heat exchanger. Now, do you clean that out?
Yeah,
I don't know what that is. Yeah, I didn't either. So heat exchanger, it might be in different places. You see it on the screen there. That's on one model. It might look a little bit different depending. Have a look at your manual if you still have it, or have a look online. Most of them online. But clean that out so you can use a little sponge or a brush to clean that out.
As a consumer journalist, what are you saying about putting things in the tumble dryer to help? Like we can see you've got a range of different sort of balls to put in. Do they work? Are they good?
Right. So balls in your dryer. These are all different types. You will see people online talking about using a tennis ball.
Can't see a thing. What have you got?
Where's the tennis ball? It's completely gone.
Yeah,
you ready to catch it?
Yeah, go on.
Go on. Right. So now we can see what it is. So I would say the point of putting these in, any of these in, this is a wool ball made of wool. This one's made of plastic. You can just buy them. what they do is they smash everything together in the dryer. They keep everything separated and they help the airflow go through. I wouldn't bother using a tennis ball because you're just going to end up with yellow fluff all over your stuff. Also, you'll have to replace it all the time. These wool balls, you can actually get about 1,000 uses out of. These even more. They will be a bit more expensive. But it's worth giving it a go. The other thing
That's brilliant. Do you know what I was going to say? What about people who haven't got a tumble dryer though?
Well, lots of things actually. We can use these. Can you see this down the front? This is a heated air clothes horse. So heated dryer. And you can just stick your clothes on there, plug it in. They're actually pretty cheap to run as well. Anything between 6 and 9 pence per hour. So they're not too bad. Keep everything a little bit separated, but you can actually really boost it as well by using, in front of gas, we've got a dehumidifier. Now that just draws the moisture out of the air, makes sure that things aren't just staying continually wet. They are more expensive to run, but if you do get an efficient one, they can be really useful. I'd say don't use them in a very cold room though, because if you use them in a very cold room, they're not that effective. So make sure it's sort of an ambient temperature and it'll help draw all the moisture out really quickly.
Yes, that's really handy to save some pennies and pounds actually. It's the winter months. Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you. Now, if you're looking for something to watch while you're sorting through your washing this weekend, BBC's new drama, Mr. Loverman, has been getting rave reviews.
It's because it's brilliant, starring Lenny James and Arian Bakari. The show follows the story of 74-year-old Barry, who wants to live out his final days with his lover and best friend, Morris.
You is a homosexual, Barry. I ain't no homosexual. I'm a bisexual. They think they know me. Father of Ghana and Maxine, husband of Carmen. What happened to us, Barry? 50 years, living a double life. You are a cheat, Barry, but not in the way that she thinks.
It is. It's a fantastic show, Aaron. Congratulations on it. First thing we should ask is, how are you feeling? You're supposed to be in with us today, but you're feeling a bit under the weather. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little bit better. It's been like a week of like coughing, spluttering. Yes, actors get colds and flus like everybody else.
We're pleased you're coughing and spluttering with at home, not on the couch next to us. And I hope you feel a bit better soon.
No, you're fine where you are. But actually, however you're feeling, I'm sure you're just glad to talk about this because, like we said, it's had some rave reviews. What have you made of the response you've had?
It's been really touching. It's been really lovely just hearing people's viewpoints. And, these are unconventional characters that all of a sudden have become conventional in our society. And the way people are responding to it it's just so beautiful how they've taken these two queer black couple, and basically bringing it into their homes and loving them with such joy.
Right.
Now, the story was originally a book, wasn't it? I mean, does that add to the pressure of having to bring that story to life?
Yeah, Bernadine Everest, though, she's an amazing writer. I've always was a fan of her work. And so she has this beautiful way of writing characters that just jump off the page. And when I was reading it, I kind of kept going to myself, well, I know this world, I know these arts, I know these people, I know the places, and it was like, oh, now there's this way to try to just make it as authentic as possible. Luckily, we had a great scriptwriter who did the adaptation, and Nathaniel Price, who was just fantastic, and Hong Kao was a great director who just kind of brought us all together and made this wonderful, wonderful piece of work together.
Quite early on, even in episode 1, you get to know the characters quite well. I mean, there's a scene, quite a long scene, isn't there? The dining room table where pretty much the whole family is there. And then you see your character and, of course, alongside Lenny James, plays Barrington, this secret life, the viewer knows about the secret life, but the family doesn't. The casting for something like that must be essential for it to, to bring the book, to bring it out on screen, right?
Yeah. It is. I think that's what's really exciting. I've always been a big fan of Lenny's work. I'm kind of fanboy thing before he even got the job. And so, to work with him, and then the idea that we could just walk in. I think our first day of rehearsal, we had to kiss each other. And we had an intimate coach who was really great. And there's this kind of trust in the room. And there was an amazing quality between us where we could just go, okay, I trust you, you trust me. And Lenny's really good at receiving as an actor. He doesn't block anything you do. So you're always giving, and I try not to block either. So there's just two actors who are just receiving and just reacting, receiving and acting, reacting. And that's a joy. I mean, one of the best actors I've ever worked with.
Yeah, it is absolutely superb. But it's fair to say, Aaron, you've come a long way. We're just thinking about this before, about the fact you were in Doctors back in the 2000s, and I think I've seen you say some of that. You're going to really miss it when it comes. It's great, isn't it? Looking slightly different.
Oh, I wasn't expecting to see that.
It's fair to say you're going to miss it when it comes off screen.
Yeah, look, Doctors is one of those bastions of shows where it's a training ground for writers, for directors, for production staff. I cut my cloth as a writer and a director on that show, and it's going to be so that we lose such a place where there's a world of education. And yeah, I'm going to miss it. Yeah, it's a brilliant time to be part of that show.
Well, we're glad to see you on the screen because it's fantastic and definitely worth a watch. Is Mr. Leatherman for sure. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Get better soon.
Yes, hope you feel better soon. And then Mr. Loverman continues on Monday night at 9 o'clock on BBC One. And of course, all episodes are available on iPlayer as well.
We're being spoiled with great actors today. John Cleese will be with us in about 15 minutes' time, telling us why you could be checking in for a short stay at Fawlty Towers. Before that, it was something that Manuel would never serve up in the famous hotel, and that's a dish from John Gregory Smith.
Oh, yes, I am beyond excited now because steak's on the menu. And of course, steak is jam-packed full of protein, isn't it? So
It is.
you're going to tell us this is great for us.
Protein is one of the big building blocks of life. You know, you need it to be lovely and strong, and it keeps you full up for longer. It's a really good one. Now, if you want plant-based proteins, there's chia seeds, tofu. But do you know what the big is? Lentils, weirdly, have a really high level of protein. So that's a good one that my pan's already smoking. I love it. But today, we're going to cook one of my favorites, which is a beautiful sirloin steak. And I've got some top tips to get your restaurant quality steak at home, which is hot pan, one of them. And it's absolutely lush. If you follow these tips, you're going to smash it, okay? So there's different cuts of steak, okay? So the really good ones are your ribeyes. That's one of the ones people love. Lots of fat running through it, big flavour. You've got fillet steak, which is very lean, but it's quite pricey. Then you've got something like a rump, right, which is full of flavour. It's a bit tougher. So you need to cook it a bit longer, and then sirloin sort of sits in the middle. But actually, one of my favourites, you have to go to the butcher for this, is bavette, and it's lovely, and it's from sort of the back of the cow here,
round
underneath, and you get a big old strip of steak. It's quite tough, and you just char it, loads of salt, pepper, char it, and then you slice it up against the grain, and it's got this beautiful, strong flavour, and it's one of the cheapest cuts, one of my favourite. I absolutely love it. So.
Right, timings. This is the key thing, isn't it? I
Timings.
never ever know how long to cook this
Right.
for.
So I'm so excited because there's a graphic that's like a career highlight about to start. So you have the different cuts. You've got rare, medium in the middle, medium well, and well done down here.
Well,
and it really
that was well done.
It just depends on the thickness of the steak. So a couple of minutes will give you your rare, and then you add on. But I've got a really good top tip to see when it's done without cutting it open.
Come on, then let's get cooking.
Let's get cooking. So first things first, pan is really nice and hot, so I'm actually just going to turn it up a little bit more. This is a strong muscle, so it can take a lot of cooking. Okay, so we've got a lovely sirloin steak. You need it out of the oven for about 2 hours so it comes to temperature.
Out of the fridge.
Yeah, out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Out of the fridge. Because if it's cold all the way
Really
through,
bad.
then you know by the time it's cooked in the middle, it won't be right. So get it out, pat it nice and dry. So any moisture you want off. There we go. See a little bit of moisture that side. Pat that nice and dry. Just going to get rid of that. Give my hand a little wash. I'm going to go and plenty of salt and pepper. So it needs a lot of seasoning. Okay. So lots of salt, lots of pepper, both sides. There we go. More salt, more pepper, and you want to draw out the flavours of that steak. Okay. So that pepper actually went on the steak. There we go. So pan is lovely and hot. I can hear that. So this is a neutral oil. So olive oil will just smoke straight away. So you want an olive oil or a sunflower or something that can take a lot of heat. Get that in and immediately. Wait, so not olive oil. No, it'll start smoking straight away.
Okay, so it's not like a butter or something.
No, not yet, because again, it will just burn. So this oil gets really hot. Put it in, that lovely sizzle. Do it away from you, so any splatter go that way, not on you. And you're just going to leave that, because we want that char. So I'm just going to turn it up, give my hand another wash. And what you want to do is leave this now. Don't be tempted to start poking it. Everyone wants to do is get in there. Just leave that, and you want that golden crust on it, okay? So I'm just going to pop this over here. Nice and tidy today. So the classic kind of flavours for a steak would be obviously the flavour of the steak. Then you want butter, some garlic, and rosemary. Now you could use thyme, for example, which is another really woody herb. And the reason why you want something like that rather than like a soft herb, like your basil or your parsley, is because again it will just burn in this pan. So let's have a little look. Okay, we've got a lovely colour on that. Look. There we go, beautiful. So what I'm going to do is just turn it down a tiny bit. The smell of that, honestly, absolutely gorgeous. So you would leave that now to cook off to how you want it. And there's a really nice way to just test whether it's done. So you're going to use your hands for this, okay? So get your hand out, left hand please, guys. Put your thumb against your first finger there, and just press the socket there. And if you were to touch your steak like that, that would be your rare. If you go in one, that's your medium rare, that's what we want. Then you've got your sort of medium and your well done. Now,
I'm wondering how long we're going to use our hands.
Honestly, it's really good. So you could get this out of the pan and test it and then put it back in, without going into this hot pan. But for here, we're going to say like this is perfect. So we're going to go in with our herbs, we're going to go in with our garlic, we're going to go in with a little butter.
Butter goes in at the end, yeah?
Butter at the end, and what you want is that butter just to melt through it, okay? And start basing that with that flavour.
What oil did you use, by the way?
So this is just a vegetable oil. It's really hot. And you do this for about a minute, then you get the steak out. This is to stop that butter burning, okay? And you're just putting all of that, like, I'm literally smirking. This smells so good.
Amazing, even from right over here.
So then you would get your steak out and leave it to rest for a good 5 minutes, I would say, something this size. And then what you can do is, those juices in here are delicious. And you should just spoon that over the top, or chuck in some mushrooms, let them cook off.
Oh, it smells good.
Add a little drizzle of cream. So you've got all of those lovely buttery flavours in there.
So we're going to cook the mushrooms in
Put the mushrooms in that meat juice.
You don't have to add all that cream. You could just
you could use like one of the lighter options, like a lighter creme fraiche, something like that, or just have the mushrooms. Now this has been resting quite a while, so let's just have a look. Look at that beautiful steak, lovely and juicy, and absolutely, honestly, it's so good. You know what? Honestly, you follow these tips and you just cannot get it wrong. Just perfect.
And you can do that by looking on the BBC Morning Live website, the recipe and tips for the perfect steak at bbc.co.uk/morninglive. If anyone touches this, there'll be trouble, honestly.
You lot, amazing.
Could well be me. Next, on to another one of our talented Morning Live chefs. As well as food, music is a huge part of Yvonne Cobb's life.
And she's been out exploring the ways the UK music and events industry is changing to be more inclusive of the deaf community, and headed off to a rave. This film is presented in British Sign Language, but we'd also recommend switching on your subtitles.
I love music. Like when I went to this Robbie Williams concert, which people who aren't deaf might find surprising. But like many in the deaf community, I absolutely love being part of the shared live experience music creates. And the fact that deaf people want to be included is something that the music scene in the UK is really waking up to. In fact, in some cases, interpreters are stealing a little of the limelight usually reserved for the stars, like the woman signing at the Super Bowl when Rihanna performed, who went viral.
and the interpreter at this year's Eurovision Song Contest. Marie Pascal runs a company providing interpreters to music concerts and festivals. Hi Marie, nice to see you.
Hello.
She recently signed for Taylor Swift. And for those who don't use VSL, we asked her to voice her answers too.
The performance interpreter has to show what music looks like through using their whole body, through movement, facial expression, and role shift. Really, it's about creating a bridge between the singer and the audience.
How do you prepare for that?
There's lots of reading and things I have to consider in terms of the translation to understand the meaning and consider the metaphors involved. I need to think about the audience that I'm meeting and how I adapt my interpretation to them.
Wow! But the music scene isn't just about big live concerts. It's also about smaller grassroots venues and clubs. It's Saturday night in East London, and this is a rave organised just for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Troy Lee started Deaf Rave after doormen stopped he and a group of deaf friends entering a nightclub.
And he said, "You lot are deaf, but you lot are not coming in." That's the first time I felt discrimination.
So when you left, how did you feel?
I was very, very disheartened. And that moment there, that's when I realized I'm going to have to do something about it.
The first Deaf Rave sold out its 700 tickets, and it's been going from strength to strength ever since. The experience is constantly evolving. Vibrating vests help ravers connect to the beat.
Putting on that vest was just like, I'm a hearing person, and it's just fantastic. I can't really explain it. I'm lost for words. It's like magic.
It gives me goosebumps. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. And I can actually dance better as well with the vest.
I can follow the rhythm and I can dance and I can start dancing. And I feel like if I had that, I could have started earlier. I could have danced earlier. I could have enjoyed music earlier.
The vest works by turning sound frequency and beats into electronic signals that then trigger 6 pulsing packs that are sewn into it. Clearly, I'm going to have to try it for myself. Turn it up. Wow, it feels like a proper festival.
Absolutely.
Like I'm really in it. I can hear it. But if the lyrics were there as well, I feel like I would get a lot more of the music. Matthew Taylor performs at Deaf Rave under the name MC Geezer. This is him rapping.
When I go to club for hearing, and then they would think that there's doing that I'm hearing. So the ravers will come up to me, try to talk through my ear. I'll be like, hey, I'm deaf. So try to move. So they could look at and I can read their lips, but they don't understand me. With my spirit, with performing with
I'm
deaf,
trying to think now.
they already know me
Oh, yeah.
and they know my songs and they know that I would use their spells, Stanley, so they will follow some of the lyrics.
Wow, it's amazing.
Um,
Have you been DJing in different places?
Yes, I've been performed at Glastonbury 4 times. Last Day the Day recently, and last year I performed with Boomtown. And these are fabulous festivals for my type of music.
And it's not just the music scene that is becoming more inclusive. Newcastle United Football Club has trialled sound shirts to make deaf fans' matchday experience more sensory. But there's still more to be done around live events.
Tickets sell out straight away, and it's difficult for deaf people to get them. Deaf customers don't know if there will be an interpreter, and if they are, they have to wait a long time to get confirmation if there will be one. We need information to be clear to their audiences about how to book tickets, which days will be VSL accessible, and how to request an interpreter. At the moment, all venues and promoters work differently. They need to join forces and work together.
And I'd like to see more captions at concerts, something much more common in theatres. I think music is about so much more than the notes, the noises, and the sounds. It's about bringing people together, and that is something that should be open to everybody.
Wow.
Each time I find out about an innovative bit of tech or a new method of including the deaf community in the British cultural scene, it's truly music to my ears.
When you're on as a proper raver.
Do you know what?
Raver.
That's not surprisingly.
You're right, yeah.
Do you know, I've been able to give myself time to even have a smoke.
Which many
It's crazy,
describe
really.
as the best of all time. It's been almost 50 years since the filming of
I've
Fawlty Towers at
done
BBC's
that. Right.
television
Now, all I've got
centre.
to do now
And
is
the
get
show's
the
legacy
address
lives on
of
in
the
London's
Crown Court.
West End
No,
in a stage
what's
play
it? Supreme
adapted
Court.
by comedy legend John Cleese, who played Basil. And it's
Uh,
inspired by some of the show's iconic
June.
episodes, including this one.
No.
The other one doesn't faulty.
Dígale, señor, que Mr. Faulty want to say adios.
He wants to go. No, no, Good afternoon, gentlemen. And what can I do for you three gentlemen?
Do you sleep on your bed? John, actually,
I do
John,
sleep in it,
now,
yeah.
I have to say, John, I
but
am
tonight I
utterly
didn't.
starstruck and so
I was
thrilled
busy, yeah.
that you were with us. I mean, would you ever have imagined when you filmed that almost 50 years ago, we'd still be talking about it 50 years later?
Oh no, I always thought, because I'd left Monty Python, I'd felt I'd done everything I needed or wanted to do there. I left Animal because I wanted to write something with Connie Booth because we had such an identical sense of humour. But I never thought it would match Python in terms of audience popularity. And of course, it's actually where it's even bigger audiences, especially in the UK.
Oh, that's great.
So
Fun.
no, I don't think you ever know
Do you want to see me?
whether it's going to be
see-
very
you see that?
successful or not.
That's
I mean, the audience
A little
eventually
girl,
tells you,
a
but it
baby,
can take
a
some
baby.
time. I mean, the original reviews
I think I've still got that shirt,
were
that's crazy.
really not good at all. I remember Daily Mirror, Long John, short on jokes, and the Spectator hated it, and then gradually opinion came round. So, no, you never know what's going to happen.
The casting was brilliant, wasn't it? You had the incredible Prunella Scales as Sybil and Manuel, played by the late Andrew Sachs. Now, these days, don't you see a lot of popular shows.
Has Nikki been around recently?
The crack-ups.
No, not at all.
What you actually see on
She knows me now. I mean, well, she I didn't say about me.
But you were in Stitches as well. Were you always able to keep the straight face?
She said she was walking around with Ali.
She's not been around.
To hang around.
I think,
2 hours to
well, I
record
don't know
that
really.
show. We started at
I just don't know what
we
to say.
finished
With,
at 10.
I'm probably too scary for her. I don't know.
So whenever there was a break, I was looking at my watch, thinking, "Oh my God, are we going to get this done?" 2 hours, and we used to record 140 pages. The average sitcom was about 60.
I'm trying to tell you.
So we used to do twice as many pages because it was paid at such a pace.
Last time you were on Morning Live, you were talking about the stage show in London. Exciting news now. You are taking it all over the UK. We'll come back to that in just a second. But just to give people an idea of what it looks like on stage, here it is.
You told me to shut up.
No, he told me to shut up.
You what? No, he said it to me.
No, I was looking at you, but I was talking to Polly. Wasn't I, Polly?
Oh, yes.
Did you notice then that I was looking
Now,
at
where's
you?
the fucking control? So,
You see, he was looking at you,
Oh,
and
man.
talking to me, wasn't he?
could you pass me one of them?
So you were being rude, weren't you, Mr. Polk?
Absolutely not. You see,
Me? Yes. I mean, if you say
That
something
bag there would be
so
alright.
that's
A British
what
bag or whatever.
Not
I think I do. Well, it's got socks in it. Another
Yeah, you
one.
see how easily these misunderstandings occur?
Somewhere. Yeah, there is one somewhere.
So good, isn't it? It's
Oh,
so good.
wonderful. I have to tell you that I had two very
Oh,
happy moments. The first was when we were auditioning people, and I couldn't believe the high standard, the high quality of the people we could have got. 3 battles. We had two civils, and we had 3 man
Don't see how much food I've got.
Nobody would have noticed.
I ain't got much really.
Really as good as
I was quite glad. I was like, I've got about 40 quid from Sainsbury's. Loads of mock burgers. I had to give it all back because I had about 10 quid. You know, shit.
The first night, on the first night I was in the box and watching it on stage, but also watching the audience. And halfway through the second half, I looked down at the audience and they were rocking with laughter. You know when people laugh so much?
Slices in there.
Yeah, I got a few bits and pieces, yeah.
Hugely happy. I thought, oh, isn't it lovely? I'm part of this, but I had no desire to be down there on stage. I wanted them to be down there doing the hard work.
Oh, John, honestly, John, it looks brilliant. And what I love is you're going all over the country with it now, aren't you? Including Kentucky.
Yes, well, we were set in the run in London to March the 1st. So we've gone on another couple of months. And then in September, it goes off round England. September the 25th it starts and it finishes on July the 1st. So we're out there for, what is that, 9 months? And then we're going to bring it back into the West End again. And it's just wonderful
Is that
to
a
see people
fact?
laughing like
Yeah,
that. Because when I was growing up, all those great sitcoms, and of course Tommy Cooper and Max Wall and Walter and Wise, people used to laugh more than they do now. And I think people miss it a bit. So there's a little bit of nostalgia in the audience when they're laughing so much.
Just quickly, what will it be like in Torquay, the sort of home of Faulty Towers? I imagine people will come in fancy dress.
Yes, they've never given me a hard time, Torquay. I think they think the publicity is worth the insult.
It's not the only tour you're taking around the country.
Yeah.
Monty Python, you just mentioned it before. You're working on a play for The Life of Brian, which will please lots of people.
Let's put your extension lead in
Yes,
the bedroom, mate. 'Cause it looks
I'm
like
very excited about this. I
finally
don't
went
get
arse over
excited
tip
much
in a little
anymore.
bit.
Yeah, I don't know where the fucking remote is now.
It's going to be very
Oh
special.
shit, I turned it on today.
Because I feel why do exactly
The remote
same
for the TV.
thing? Some people might
It's
want
too loud,
when
isn't
I went to see the
It is quite loud.
stage, I thought, well, I've seen the film,
Shit, where is it?
the film, but I'm changing it quite a lot. Some people will,
hang on,
do
Sam.
this, some people will say, well, no, I want to see
Turn
the,
that shit off.
the same thing again. In which case, I say,
That's better. It's driving me crazy. Let's have a look. For general inquiries, yeah, right. I'll just send this out. I need a better pen. That's no good, I don't think. Oh, what the fuck? Pardon. Right, that's it. I put on the back of the envelope, NHS, Police, Hampshire County Council, brutality, sectioned 2004 to 2022. That's 18 years. iPhone taken. Piano Man for RHP Pianos, covered Somerset, London. All the families and the Dutch Embassy wanted a piano from 175. Yeah. I just chucked it on the back of the envelope. that's a bit bad, isn't it? I guess it'll be all right. I hope so, anyway. Right, let's see now. Sorry, mate.
Have you been live this whole time?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Sorry, shall I end it now? I better, aren't I, really? Yeah, let's see now. Where am I? I'm on live. I'm on live. Where am I live now? Oh yeah, I'm live on fucking YouTube. I've been live. 3 hours and 40 minutes. Only this morning that was. Yeah, gotta go. See ya. I'm sending this. There we go.